It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
You ever wonder what would you do if you had more time in your day? If I had more time in my day, Tim, as a practical joke, because I think it would be really, really funny, I would write a new theme song intro, find somebody to cut it, and just as a joke, the sports bar with Battaglia and Schneider.
I like it. Maybe
we just
got
to do that like when Danger comes back in July. You'd be like, what?
Evicted from his own show.
Right. Just write some new
Maybe we can put it together.
Yeah, that would be it. Welcome to Sports Bar. He is in for Mike Danger this week. And if you're following Danger along on social media, it's no secret. He's not in town. He's not on this continent. He's having himself a good family vacation over in Italy. And his wife, Sandy, well, she has family there. And Danger's mother is from Spain. No longer with us, but he still has relatives over there. And good that he's taking some time. And if you're going to take some time off, this is the time to do it. Great show we got lined up here today. And it is a privilege to be talking sports with you in Rochester. Rochester's only local sports talk show. 866-4326. 866-4FAN is our phone number. The Wings are in action. We'll keep an eye on this. They're losing to Syracuse 5-1. Yeah. That's so much for that. We will be talking baseball at the bottom of this hour. I know there's some Oriole fans in town. This is going way back in the day, or maybe you're just kind of a fan of the team. We will be talking to a guy who has worked here for a little bit. Ben Wagner is one of the voices of the Baltimore Orioles. We'll talk about the O's. We'll talk about the American League East. It'll be a fun baseball conversation. Ben Wagner joining us at the bottom of this hour. Baltimore taking on the Texas Rangers tonight down at Camden Yards. Next hour, our buddy Paul Hamilton from WGR. We'll be talking about the Sabres draft, the Sabres free agency, Sabres trade, what's next for Buffalo. We have high expectations, at least I do. You can't go in just with the same roster next year, but what should those moves be? Paul Hamilton will be joining us in the next hour, around 4:30-ish. Again, our number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Lots of ways you can take in the show. FM, 95.7 FM, AM 950, YouTube, Twitch, and, of course, streaming audio in the free-to-download Odyssey app. I think I got everything in there, Tim.
You did, but one thing you haven't mentioned, there's some baseball going on right now. Paul Skeens and Jacob Mizorowski, and Mizorowski's at it again. Yeah,
and Skeens isn't. So this is the Brewers leading the Pirates 4-0. And let me just check up. So if you're not familiar with Mizorowski, first game, he's pitching a no-no, and he gets pulled out for a pitch count.
Yeah, he had a pitch count, and he stumbled on the mound. I think they just pulled him out for precaution for the ankle. Yeah, five innings, no hits allowed. Then he goes out his next start. Brought a perfect game into the seventh.
So he enters this game. And they already took some memorabilia, put in the Hall of Fame. I can't even remember the pitcher who was all angry. The pitcher they didn't even option him. They're like, okay, we're making room for this kid. You're going to the bullpen. I don't want to be on the team anymore. Okay, this looks really, really bad now that you can't recognize that this Mizorowski's there.
They got rid of him. It was Aaron Savali. He's in Chicago now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's your congratulations. You're now a White Sox. Hopefully that was worth it. Mizorowski, I don't know. Can we call it a no-hitter if he's through 3 innings? No. Technically, he
working on it.
Yeah, Skeens allowing 4 earned runs in 2. Watch, this will be the game where Skeens gets lit up and somehow he wins the game.
Right.
That would be the opposite.
There's 2 pitchers on that Pirates rotation that have just been absolutely. I don't even know how to explain it. Their records are not what their numbers are, and him and Mitch Keller are combined like 4-18 or something, but they've got 22 quality starts among the 2 of them already.
Got some thoughts on the Yankees and Mets. Again, 866-4326. You can hit us up on X, our handle, The Fan Rochester. And, Tim, I'm not going to let go of the Nighthawks story. So
Right.
I am making calls. People are calling me. Okay, so here are 3 little nuggets as we're trying to piece this together. I wish I had, here's what's happening. I don't, okay? But, and I'm not going to hold it back waiting for something. I'm just going to pass along what I know. And I can tell you that there was an employee of the Nighthawks last night who reached out to me and said, "What are you hearing?" And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not hearing. Well, that employee, they weren't told anything. Now, I'm not even going to disclose what their role is with the team, okay? I'm just going to leave it at that. I can tell you this, though, and this I have according to 2 sources. Well, it's one thing, what if you're the players? How are they told? Well, apparently, when this broke on Monday, and forgive me, I don't know the exact time when it came down, but on Monday, before it came down, the players were all told 1 hour ahead of time. 1 hour ahead of time that the Pegulas would no longer own the team and that the league is working hard to keep the team in Rochester. That's not exactly a plan going forward.
Right. That's on a whim and the rug swept out from under you.
Team working hard, league working hard to keep the team in Rochester. That doesn't say, hey, there's a new owner, something is pending. If there's a sale pending on a house, what do you do with the sign in the middle of the yard? You put sale pending. There's no sale pending. It's still for sale. Okay? So basically, the league is the realtor in this analogy, and they're putting up their photos, and they're talking to people, and people are probably coming in and looking around and thinking what they don't like and what they do like, or maybe just nobody's liking the house because it's overpriced. I don't know what it is, but I find it hard to believe that the Pegulas just said, nah, we're kind of done with this and walked it away. There is some value to a professional sports franchise. I think the league is acting as an intermediary for the next owner, whether that's an owner that is going to keep the team in Rochester, except we haven't heard that from anything official that somebody's putting their hand up in the air, or that the league will act as the bad guy here and Pegulas will save face. That's my read on this. I hope I'm wrong on that front.
It doesn't look good. And again, the closer we get, the more obvious it becomes apparent that it seems as though the Nighthawks no longer.
Right. So the third piece of info, too, because, all right, then there's got to be somebody locally. And again, you just have to trust me on this, okay? That, I talked to a business owner in Rochester who is a sponsor of the Nighthawks. We'll just leave it at that. They haven't been told anything. I'm sorry. That would be just a simple call. That's all that would take. That's all it would take. And we're partners of the Amerks. That's bad business. I'm sorry. You have to let your partner, they can't be reading or tuning into the sports bar. If you are a sponsor of the team, at the very least, just don't point to the the press release from Pete Coelho.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a PR nightmare that they've been able to skirt away from by throwing other nuggets and tidbits locally at us to try to avoid.
Right. So I'm sorry. Like, I can see this on social media that people, and here's the thing with the Nighthawks, Tim. Like, if you look at the history of this franchise, and my gosh, people have been tweeting out, you forget the good times. Like, my gosh, they were winning championships. Barn was packed. It was a lot of fun. But then the owner realized, no, we're not really making enough money, and I'd rather go do this, in Canada where I'm from. Okay, and then facilitated. Basically, the Nighthawks were going to move. Okay, and that was under the city ownership. The city does ownership. The city was managing the arena at the time, and well, the Pegulas came in, and you have to give them credit for saving professional lacrosse here, but by the players going up, and it's an expansion franchise, and you're losing, And as many people have pointed out, it's not even the same colors. It's all kind of a different feel. Same name, not the same logo.
Yeah, it's
all
2.0.
different feel. Yeah, it's a little different 2.0. But then you come to know some of these players and you respect Hazen, the coach. You get into it. And the fact that, okay, this past year you built it up to 5,600. Okay, can you get that up to 6 or 7 next year? I think things were you have the league MVP for crying out loud.
Right. There's something viable there, but if they're not willing to put the work in, then I guess here we are. Stinks.
If you missed it from the end of yesterday's show, I mean, there's very, very, very few things, Tim, that would get me to laugh out loud here, but one of them was this, because we were talking about, all right, there is the third scenario, and we talked about this yesterday with Adam Levy, who is a lacrosse journalist. Third scenario where just, okay, you're folded. Now, if you're the players' union, and there is a union, you're like, what the heck? You just took away jobs? Well, there's a CBA going on. So if it's the third scenario, you're folded. My gosh, can you imagine what that would be like? This is an expansion team now. This is a team rich in talent, rich with the league MVP. And someone writing in, it's great. I fully bet that the Bandits would win the draft lottery.
Win the draft lottery. Give the MVP to the 3-time defending champion who are owned by the person that just gave up the team.
I guess since both, do we give the Pagulas credit that there wasn't some sort of fire sale right at the end? Okay, and maybe it could still happen, Tim. Hey, Monday's our last team, but you know what? Connor Field for a second-round pick. Yeah, let's do it here. Go ahead, Buffalo. Like
that would be collusion to the max, and
the other teams would be like, no.
What is going on? I even wonder if they're even allowed to make trades like that.
No, Tim, I'm saying this. Stop. I'm tongue-in-cheek.
No, I understand.
Tongue-in-cheek.
But I mean, I just mean the Bandits and Nighthawks in general. Like, are they even allowed to negotiate because of the possibility of it?
You have people looking kind of differently there. It's so again, we're gonna be the one show that's hey, gotta save this team. And if anybody has any info, and we said this last night, and somebody from the team reached out, and we had a good conversation, and and again, if I have it wrong or you want to add more context, if you want to do it on the record, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. If you don't want to go on the air, pretty accessible. I want to say Danger and I, for that matter, you, Tim, we live in this town too, all right? Just reach out to us after hours. We'll get it going. Although tonight is running night here, Tim.
Yeah, you've got to get your laps in.
I got to get my laps in. Yeah, I got to get my steps in. Are you playing softball here tonight?
No, tonight is my night off. I played Monday and Tuesday, and I'm back at it tomorrow. But today I get to get out of here and sit in air conditioning, and it's going to be very pleasant.
When did we become so soft? Look, there are people with, and I'm not talking about somebody that has, needs, or somebody that is, an advanced age or whatever it may be when it comes to the Heat. I'm talking about professional athletes. What happened last night with the New York Yankees? Like, tell your Yankee friends, what the hell? Like, it's one thing for the Mets, okay? And Tim, they were up 3-0, the Mets, and you had Frankie Montas coming in. Frankie Montas, first start of the season, coming off his last rehab appearance, 5 earned runs and 5 innings at Syracuse. Ugh. But you know what? They couldn't keep him down in Syracuse because there's rules against that. You're out of time. You're up with the Mets. The Mets didn't have a starter. Holy cow. We pulled it off. You got Frankie Montas to give it, and then the bullpen, Brazaban, everybody else.
Absolute implosion.
Lighting it on fire. I'm like, this is fantastic. Fan-freaking-tastic. So when I talk to Met, like, okay, can you get Senga back at some point? When does Manaea show up? Can you find another starter? The Mets aren't doomed. And for that matter, the Yankees aren't doomed. But the way the Yankees lost last night, that would stick in my craw just as much, if not more. Carlos Rodon, he's having a good game. He took himself out after 88 pitches, Tim, because he was tired.
That's bad.
Now, if we are drawn, how, again, 866-4FAN, how is that different than Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson tapping his helmet, saying he's tired and coming out for a play? Now, and I think rightfully so, you don't do that in football. When other guys are selling out and they're kind of going at it right out in front of you, it's it was, you never see that from a quarterback, ever. And Richardson, in my opinion, lost the locker room at that point. Now that he's hurt, I don't know. I'm being honest. I don't know if he ever plays a meaningful down for the Colts ever again.
It'll be interesting to see what they do in that regard. But if you need a breather, you need a breather. You're not going to die on the field, but that's also like you're not going to die on the field. You have to get out there with your teammates. You kind of sold yourself out, and you can't do that.
Yeah. So when did we reach a point where pitchers themselves are looking up at the pitch clock and like, nah, you know what? I really don't have it in me for 100 here tonight. I'd say Nolan Ryan will be rolling over in his grave, but Nolan Ryan is still with us. Like guys who threw 120, 130 pitches, no problem. Okay, yes, it was a hot night in Cincinnati. I get all that. But this isn't the Dodgers. This isn't this is the Reds. I mean, they've got a spunky little lineup with a really big star in the middle, but if I'm a Yankee fan, that's the guy you need. And sure enough, Rodon comes out, bullpen can't hold it. Yeah, and now the Reds go for the sweep tonight. Now the Yankee sarcasm starting to free flow in here. Meaning hey, it's going to be 93 degrees game time temperature in Cincinnati tonight. I don't know, Tim. Should they cancel the game in Cincinnati tonight? Should they push it back to a little bit there for a weather delay?
Just give the pitchers 50 pitches and hope that they're air conditioned and cooled in the meantime. If that's what they need to do to cater to their athletes, get out there and play, man.
Yeah, and again, there's I'm going to argue the counterpoint here is that there's a fine line here. I understand that. This is early 2000s where the Corey Stringer death changed a lot of things in sports.
Yes.
Like that was whoa, okay. Corey Stringer, if you don't know the story, one of the top offensive linemen in football for the Minnesota Vikings, and he got heat stroke. And where heat stroke is, you can't cool the body down, and you're done. That was it. And that sent a shockwave. And this was with the last CBA where you could have 2-a-days, and there really weren't any limits. And things changed after that. And for the better, I should add. The fact that youth players now, okay, we're taking this a lot more seriously. But what we had in Cincinnati last night with Carlos Rodon, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that was heat stroke at all.
No, if you're tired and you're gassed and you can't go, understandable. Like you're overworked, you're overheated. But if it's just because you don't feel right, I think that you've got to find that extra gear, become a gamer, and get the job done for your teammates, because you put them in a spot where the guy that came out of the bullpen immediately faltered, and it cost the Yankees the game eventually. It went extra innings, and they lost, but they did not do them any favors by pulling yourself. You could have gone another 88 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
You can go another inning, maybe 2. You're sitting in the dugout. It's hot, of course. Everybody else is hot there with you, though. You've gotta get out there with your teammates and grind and get it done. You can't pull yourself while everybody else is still out there working.
You can write to us, the fan Rochester, JT writing in. Only an hour. This goes back to me reporting that the Nighthawks players were told an hour before the presser went out, press release from Pete Coelho. Only an hour before. That's unbelievable. Bad business. Sad, really. Thank you, JT. I would have thought that maybe in an exit interview where you're just doing face-to-face, kind of like that. But the thing is, with ownership and with players, whether it's whatever major league, and I would include Major League Lacrosse, the National Lacrosse League, it's very transactional, ownership and players. And if the owner doesn't want you to know, you're not going to know. So where if I'm running a small business and I know something, I want my employees to know right away, hey, I'm going to sell, or here's what's going on, and look somebody straight in the eye. And you might not have had that just because the GM and the head coach, maybe they didn't know too at the end of the season. So I can understand why the players, at least they didn't learn about it right then and there on social media like an hour before. They were like, somebody was probably like, yeah, you know what? We should probably let our staff know before this actually goes out here.
That is important. That said, you can kind of put it together. Like if you are in the building, you're aware of the lack of season ticket investment and stuff like that, lack of advertising. Maybe you kind of put it together on your own.
Well, right, and they see it too. Like report from Tim Graham last year, the Nighthawks are for sale. Anybody who wants it? Okay, great. So I guess it's one of those stories, Tim, where if you're paying attention, we're not surprised.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we can't do something about it.
Right. You want to do
something
about it.
You want to do something about it. Yeah.
We're kind of stuck right now because you have to find a buyer.
Yeah. And for the record, like friends in the Amherst front office and, out in Buffalo, nobody is waving their finger at me. Stop talking about this. Stop. Because deep down, they probably want this to work too. Maybe they know more of the story and they're not telling us. We'll shift gears. We've got Ben Wagner, one of the voices of the Baltimore Orioles, will join us next. We'll talk some O's. We'll talk some Major League Baseball. He's Tim Schneider. I'm Gene Battaglia. This is the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester is everywhere.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Come celebrate the Vision Class of 2025. During the Employee Pricing Plus event, you can graduate to a brand new vehicle. At Vision Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, lease the new 2025 Jeep Compass Limited for just $299 a month for 42 months. Just $299. So come celebrate the class of 2025. Call 1-888-747-0516 for details. Follow your heart to Vision Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Panorama Trail.
No one should be defined by their worst day. New York's DWI team brings a team approach to ensure nothing is missed. Call 800-DWI-TEAM or visit DWITeam.com. Your comeback starts now.
Sometimes men feel angry or overwhelmed.
The Fan, and turn those static noises into thrilling play-by-plays. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Cooper Flagg, the presumptive number 1 overall pick by Dallas in tonight's NBA draft. Flagg is just taking it all in.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to be here, be in these moments. This is stuff I've dreamed about since I was a little kid. So, I think being here is surreal. I don't think it's really, set in yet or anything, but, I'm just trying to go through each moment and just enjoy it.
This has just gone final. The Red Wings falling at home today to Syracuse 5-1. Same two teams tomorrow night at Innovative Field. On the Major League scoreboard, fun pitching matchup. Jake Mizorowski against Paul Skeens, and so far, it's the Brewers leading the Pirates 4-0. Mizorowski allowing just 1 hit in 4 innings of work. Elsewhere, the Diamondbacks trailing the White Sox 4-2 at the end of 4. Yankees tonight in Cincinnati. The Mets trying to avoid the sweep against the Braves. Gene Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks, it's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Always love to talk baseball with one of our favorites. Spent some time here in Rochester, and also you may remember him as the voice of the Buffalo Bisons, and now he's doing work with the Baltimore Orioles, part of their broadcast team. Ben Wagner giving us a few minutes tonight as the O's are going to be taking on the Rangers. Ben, appreciate your time here, and got a bunch of questions here about the Orioles, but if we just kind of start here, because we just gave the update on Mizorowski and Skeens, and I mean the amount of young talent in Major League Baseball right now. Am I biased for living in the moment, or is this as good as we've had it here?
It's about as good as it's been in a decade, I would say, right? When you go back to Strasburg and Harvey and that kind of blossoming power talent, and I'm going to see one of those guys that kind of rippled out of that Matt Harvey phase with the New York Mets and Jacob deGrom in a couple of hours. You're pitching for the Texas Rangers. I mean, that early pocket of the 2010s were some incredible arms that kind of splashed onto the scene. Right now, you should live in the moment. You should be very, very happy as a baseball fan where your feet are, getting to watch not only Paul Skeens just dominate, Tarek Skubal absolutely own both leagues, no matter who he's facing. And Mizorowski's, jumping onto the scene now, pitching for the Brewers. He's obviously just a ton of expectations with him. Hunter Brown down in Houston. The list goes on and on, in my opinion. It is a great crop of power pitching right now. And, it's a reason. There is a reason why overall offensive numbers are down, and it is the power that is out there 60 feet, 6 inches away.
Yeah, Ben, we here in Rochester, we do have a number of Oriole fans that have stuck with the franchise here. Like, heck, I remember being as a kid watching Cal Ripken at Silver Stadium. And, after kind of a down period, okay, the Orioles last year, they were really, really fun. And we had higher expectations. And, I mean, it's not an easy question to ask, but I guess how did it go wrong so far? Where did things get sidetracked here in 2025?
Well, yeah, they've been banged up a lot. There's 21 guys on the injured list for the Orioles right now, and a lot of the injured list for the Orioles this season revolve around premier pitching. And Bruce Bochy was in the dugout chatting with me yesterday, and I said, how are you going to turn this thing around? Like, really, how is it going to happen? He goes, I believe any team that has solid pitching has an opportunity. And if you look at what the Rangers were able to do, they have relied on their solid pitching to keep them in ball games. Last night was very indicative of that in the setback for the Orioles. But the Orioles, they lose Grayson Rodriguez, hasn't even thrown a pitch. He was going to be the number 1 opening day starter. They lost Zach Eflin for a huge amount of time. They have had other injuries within their rotation. They have also had inconsistencies. And from an Oriole perspective, it starts with the injury front, and every team has to navigate it. But unfortunately, when you don't have the ability to plug and play guys that are, should be able as insurance policies to jump in here, it's a really, really uphill climb for the Birds. And then, of course, you lose Colton Cowser for 2 months. You lose a month of Jordan Westburg. You've lost other bats in this lineup, including Cedric Mullins for a pocket of time, and he's, just trying to get it going. So there have been so many things at one moment that have happened for this Orioles ball club where they haven't been at full strength the way that they mapped it out at the beginning of February when everybody was marching down to Sarasota with the expectations that you had already as an Orioles fan.
Well, that I get all that. It seems like it's a different, it certainly is with the expanded playoffs and everything else. And I would point to maybe the Braves, the year they won it all, because in July 1st, Ben, they were under 500. Not only by a couple games, but to go from under 500 July 1st. It used to be Memorial Day. Now maybe it's July 1st. My question is, is there still time for the Orioles to turn this around? Baltimore opening up play today, 11 back of the Yankees in the division.
The division for me is not really part of the conversation, but if you look at the wild card, and Houston is the most recent example, they were 5.5 games back middle of June last year, and they had their second half surge, and they got better doing so. And they made some great deals at the trade deadline to get them kind of over the hump and then to the postseason with that push. I think that the wild card is still up for grabs. There is certainly a question, the amount of teams that are in front of the Orioles and the cluster that is packed in there, where the majority of these teams, 6 of them, aren't playing very good baseball right now. And you would expect, regression to the mean a little bit more with a couple of those ball clubs. I think that this will work its way out. I wouldn't be stunned to see all 3 wild card teams come out of the American League Eastern Division at the end of this thing. And with the O's, between 6 and 5.5 games over the last 10 days, they haven't really gained any ground, but they certainly haven't lost any ground. And the last month they have been playing much better baseball. So this thing is not over. It is far from over, in my opinion. And the right time is right now to start racking up the wins. And certainly they've been more consistent. We just have not seen the Baltimore Orioles get hot enough and go on a real good heater to make this thing very, very interesting.
Ben Wagner, he is part of the Baltimore Orioles broadcast team, our guest here in the Sports Bar. And Ben, I'm kind of guilty of this, or maybe that's just the nature of baseball, where I watch my favorite team every night, and I don't get to really kind of sample a lot, but when the Rays came into Citi Field, and that was the first time I said, whoa, okay, there's something here. I get this. This is a team that doesn't have a lot of names, but they're winning. You just saw them recently. So when you're talking about the division there, how legit is that team, Tampa, would you say?
I have been guilty of writing off the Tampa Bay Rays time and time again in 2 decades worth of professional baseball coverage, and nearly half that spent in the major leagues. And the Tampa Bay Rays always find a way. Doesn't matter who their GM is, doesn't matter who's involved in the think tank. The model of consistency, though, recently has been Kevin Cash and Kyle Snyder, the manager and the pitching coach. They always seem to have an answer, and they always seem to find somebody that throws 97 with a wipeout slider. just to go out and win 15 games and have a sub-3 ERA in the thick of this thing. Right now, I feel that they are for real. They've gotten incredibly consistent offensive production from Yandy Diaz. Remember, he won a batting title a couple of years ago. I mean, he's a really, really solid player. Brandon Lau is really hot right now. Danny Jansen, who is somebody that the Rays have targeted in trade conversations for the last couple of years. Obviously, I know that a little bit more intimately than most people, but he's part of it now, and I know he's homered in back-to-back ball games out there. The Rays certainly are a ball club, even with the adversity that they have been dealt with, their roof literally being ripped off and playing at George Steinbrenner Field. And they'll have to be road warriors if they really want to stay in this thing. But they have constructed a pitching staff, once again, to be unique and dynamic, and to do that against a number of different offenses, specifically the American League Eastern Division. They have figured out a way to do things very creatively and be extremely competitive, and they're already knocking on the door of 50 wins before the close here in the month of June. It's certainly somebody that the O's are very concerned about.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun series because not only did you see him a couple weeks ago, but you get him coming Friday night, first of 3, which the Friday night game for folks here, that's going to be the Apple TV game. So if you want to catch the O's and Rays, if you have Apple, you'll be able to catch that. Ben Wagner is part of the broadcast.
And the radio.
Yeah, and
don't forget.
Oh, of course.
Don't forget our lovely voices on the play-by-play story.
Ben, I was driving last year, and I did the old-fashioned way. I had to go to Philadelphia, and I was able to pick up. It was right before Memorial Day. The Orioles playing the White Sox. I'm like, hey, there's Ben Wagner. So that's how my mind works. I can remember exactly where. Little did I know the White Sox would have the year that they would have after that. Talking about the Orioles, can they turn this around? Give us kind of an injury update. You mentioned some of these names before, and when I hear oblique injury, that's the one where like, okay, is that a 1 week thing? Is that more serious? I mean, that's the one injury I have no idea about. Is there any context you can put in for your star catcher, Adley Rutschman?
Yeah, when you talk about pitchers, I'm always scared of shoulders. When you talk about position players, I'm terrified of obliques because the oblique is an area on both sides, right? And where and how significant, and it's different for every player because they move differently. They're individuals, right? They're each their own unique specimen. So how they move as a muscular build, let alone as individuals athletically, it's never the same. And now you can find different grades, grade 1, grade 2, and so on and so forth. There's no real roadmap to how long every individual oblique issue is going to stay. But we did get some really concerning news, and with Adley specifically, is his oblique issue will keep him on the shelf until after the All-Star break, which now you're talking about a month without Adley Rutschman. And while the traditional numbers don't tell you Adley Rutschman's been having a good year, the outlying metrics that you look at and expected and how teams have played him, teams have pitched him, he is having a pretty decent season. And you started to see him really come out of that and finally get some good luck when we were out west, when he had a great series against the Mariners. He had an awesome set then against the A's in Sacramento. So it was starting to come around, and then, of course, this oblique injury flares up and just absolutely throttles his season. So not only is it on a hiatus right now, and you wait and see, you hope that he can pick up where he left off because he was certainly trending the right way. And he's a difference maker. He's got power from both sides of the plate. He's behind the dish. He's working with a pitching staff that have really entrusted him with a ton of ability behind the dish. And he's part of this. I mean, he's the face of the franchise. So you're certainly hoping that very soon, after the All-Star break, he's back in there and performing.
Call me. I think I'm in the minority on this one. I do like the fact that every team is represented at the Major League All-Star Game. It's an exhibition. Let's have some fun. I like the fact that they're going back to the uniforms on the field. So, seeing all the colors, and this is part of the tradition. And for the Orioles, who's going down to Atlanta? Is it going to be Ryan O'Hearn? Is it might be Jackson Holliday? Is there somebody on the pitching staff? Who do you think gets that call there, Ben?
Yeah, I think there's a number of candidates. The list for me starts with Ryan O'Hearn, with what he has been able to do with his average, with his OPS, on base plus slugging, with the extreme power numbers, and the fact that he is just absolutely dominating night in and night out, and such a major catalyst in the middle of this order. I've got a ticket for him printed to go to Atlanta and represent the Orioles in the All-Star game. And, he took it a step further. He wants to participate in the home run derby. So you have this great talent that's really been a long time blossoming at the big league level, and his career obviously hit the reset button when he came to Baltimore, and he's been just such a huge part of the culture here. Now he's really living in the moment, and he's embracing it, and he's in front of the camera each and every day. He is somebody that has been a massive voice in that clubhouse for not only this year, but years prior to it. I think that he's going to be a huge story when Major League Baseball and the national scene gets there and focuses in on the individuals. And then I know Major League Baseball wants to have the legacy package of Jackson Holliday, and he deserves it. Yeah. He has been an unbelievable talent offensively since he had a conversation at the end of April with his dad, and he said, "You know what? I picked up something that you're doing a little bit different. Why don't you tilt the bat a certain way?" And after he made that adjustment, he's been an elite performer at the plate. He's been a great leadoff hitter for the Orioles, and they expect him to be in that spot for the foreseeable future, which is incredible for somebody that still gets carded, walking into a bar. So he is just to the forefront of not only the Orioles and what they're able to do, but this is somebody that is just rising with the Gunnar Hendersons of the world, the Bobby Witt Juniors of the world, onto the major stage in how the game is going to promote itself. And, being tied to Matt Holliday and all his 7 All-Stars, and as a Cardinals Hall of Famer, there's a lot in this package with Jackson, who's just an unbelievable dude as well.
Ben, I read that you're getting a new scoreboard down there. What kind of improvements are coming to Oriole Park at Camden Yards there?
A lot of changes. You know what? The ownership group that came in here at the start of last year got their arms around the Empire a little bit and listened to a lot of fans, evaluated what they had, talked to a lot of people that reside offices in the warehouse, and they identified a number of things. First and foremost, that they wanted to tackle. Some of it is very, very apparent. You look out at the video board. They're going to upgrade the massive video board above the bleachers and the seats out in right center field, and that thing will be glowing a year from now. They're going to change out the video board that's in right field, the high wall, and the flag court, which is just one of the great backdrops in Major League Baseball in front of the warehouse. And they're going to add the LED boards around the club level, so it'll be a modern feel in the ballpark that is, so historic in a number of ways. But I don't think they're going to diminish the intimacy that Camden Yards gives for fans too. So a lot of it will be very apparent with what they're doing, including the sound system that'll be upgraded. So the bang for the buck will be enhanced, optically and certainly in the sensories for how the game is experienced with the sound effects and the PA and everything that goes along with it. And it's a needed upgrade. They definitely needed to do that. And then some of the stuff that will happen behind the scenes isn't nearly as sexy for a lot of people, but it'll definitely enhance the fan experience as they improve kind of behind the scenes in that concourse atmosphere that now a modern fan, when you come to a ballpark or a stadium, you expect to have. And Orioles are going to invest a lot of money to get that done.
Yeah, it's funny how you look at Atlanta and maybe the Orioles too. Like they were one of the first. Like you want to go to the ballpark, but you know what? I want to hang around the ballpark. I want to do other things. It's not just going to the ballpark for 3 hours and go home, Ben. It becomes an all day thing. You know what? I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I make the ballpark a destination. If I'm attending a game as a fan, I want to be there. Maybe you watch the end of batting practice and you see the pageantry of stuff that happens leading up to the first pitch. It's an immersive experience in Major League Baseball in a lot of stops along the way, and I think it's great. I think it's tremendous for the game overall to embrace that. And there are some awesome opportunities for fans. If you've got ballparks on your bucket list, just do it. Get into the gates, rip through the turnstiles, and enjoy it. Or you referenced Atlanta. They have done an incredible job building up the area outside the ballpark in what they refer to as the Battery. And that has seemed to be the push in the last decade for how teams can be a draw for fans to watch their ball club, but then also be a draw for friends and families and, acquaintances or businesses to link up and spend hours prior or after the ball game, right there in the hub of the ballpark, being in the middle of it.
Ben, as I always like to point out whenever you come on with us, you did a little work here in Rochester for Spectrum at one point.
I did a lot of work. You did a lot of work. Yes, you did. You did a lot of work.
For
and
a decade.
yeah. And then did you do you have like a favorite ballpark memory when you all those years coming in with the Bisons, and how many Bisons Red Wing games did you do over the years? Oh my gosh. You know what? I do have a great memory, and it was 2000. And now you're testing me. 2012. Actually, two great memories. We ended the season, and Justin Turner went 6 for 6 with a bum knee. That was incredible. He also hit a home run that day. Went 6 for 6 against the Red Wings that day, and there was a question whether or not Justin Turner was going to be able to rally. And likely, because he was going to be he's on the 40-man roster, likely going to be a September call-up. Would they bring him up to the big leagues, rest him the day before in the minor leagues? But his name was in the lineup. And he goes out and he goes 6 for 6, and he was battling this little knee thing. And I thought that was an incredible show. On the last day of the regular season, he just goes out there and dominates. And then somebody that went on to manage in the major leagues for a little bit, and his longtime big league coach, Andy Green, hit a home run in his final at bat. And he told the clubhouse in the days leading up, this was going to be it. This was going to be the swan song. Skipper had him in the lineup that day, and it was going to be his final at bat, and I think it was the 8th inning. And the handwriting was on the wall, and he launched a home run. And that was a pretty endearing moment, because he was such a grinder within the game, and you connect to the individuals more than you do the actual wins and losses or the line score at the end of the night. And Andy Green was the all-time good guy, and I really felt great for him in that moment. It was pretty cool. And, you had all those great Red Wings and Buffalo battles, over the course of the years too. And it was always great traveling the thruway there with Buffalo Baseball Hall of Famer and Duke McGuire, or sitting down and hearing Joe Altobelli tell story after story. I have endless memories going to the Flower City in a number of ways. Where to eat before the ball game, hanging out with Josh Wetzel and company during the ball game or after the ball game, and milling around and seeing and recognizing so many fans, that would make the 60-minute drive back and forth too when the Red Wings were in Buffalo. It's just a ton of great memories from my time in Western New York.
Well, Ben, we always appreciate you remembering us and giving us a few minutes here. Love talking Orioles and baseball in general. Have a good call tonight, Jacob deGrom. That should be a lot of fun here going against Baltimore.
Should be a lot of fun and should be a really great summer if you're just a casual baseball fan. We talked about the young stars that are kind of pushing their names to the forefront, and obviously, hopefully, the Orioles are in the push, down the stretch to get things done and make it really, really exciting for all those O's fans back in the Flower City.
Ben, thanks so much. Let's do this again.
Awesome, Gene.
Thanks.
Be
Ben.
well.
Ben Wagner, he's fantastic. Giving us a few minutes there.
That was great.
Yeah. That's why he's a major league broadcaster. It's like, yeah, he's got stories. He can, he can give you some insight on the team. And I think it's also part of the story here too, Tim, is that with all the young talent, yeah, you get a few injuries and maybe a few things don't go your way. And then all of a sudden, wait a second, we're 11 games out here in the last week of June. You're the Baltimore Orioles.
Right. That team is loaded with talent offensively. There's just not much in the pitching staff.
No.
And, when things started as poorly as they did, you're kind of behind the eight ball for 150 games, and it's tough to recover from, especially in a division as talented as the one that they're in.
Jake Mizorowski went 5 innings, 74 pitches. So I don't know if they're babying him, Tim, but they're going to trust it to their bullpen. He leaves with the Brewers leading the Pirates. Never thought I would give you a Brewers-Pirates update, but it's Mizorowski against Skeens. Skeens doesn't even make it to 5. I'd say this is the worst outing of the year, 4 runs in 4 innings. And he would be on the hook for the loss. So we'll keep you updated on that. And we'll talk some more coming up as we've got we should get to this story, too. Where is the line? Got an update on this from the White Sox. If you're not familiar with the Ketel Marte story, it's a little unsettling this day and age. We'll get to that as well. Time for your calls as well. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. He's Tim Schneider. I'm Gene Battaglia. This is The Fan, Rochester.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with 9BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Cooper Flagg, the presumptive number 1 overall pick by Dallas in the draft tonight. The Duke product knows that's where he's headed.
So if that is the case, that ends up happening. I mean, I've heard it's an incredible fan base with incredible support, so I'll be excited to learn more about it and get down there.
Rochester Red Wings falling in the matinee today to Syracuse 5-1. Same two teams tomorrow night at Innovative Field. On the Major League scoreboard, they go to the 7th. Milwaukee leading Pittsburgh 4-0. That's Jake Mizorowski. No runs in 5 innings. Paul Skeens got roughed up a little bit. He would take the loss if this holds. White Sox leading the Diamondbacks 4-2. They're in the 6th. Red Sox and Angels will be coming up in a few minutes. Mets looking to avoid the sweep against Atlanta. The Yankees looking to avoid the sweep in Cincinnati. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
With the first pick in the NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks select
Cooper Flagg. Celtics trade Kristaps Porzingis to the Hawks, part of a 3-team deal with the Nets.
Kyrie Irving isn't going anywhere. We also had the Pelicans and Wizards doing some business yesterday.
The Lakers.
Mike Danger.
And while I'm a company shill, you heard me, I'm just a company shill.
Gene Battaglia.
The Rochester Nighthawks.
And let us hope that there is a local owner or someone who wants to keep the team in Rochester.
I get memos on my desk every morning.
Here's a memo.
I feel bad for our fans.
Every time he speaks, he drives me nuts. Fax rings up. Kevin Adams, you're bad at your job.
The Edmonton Oilers have sent veteran forward Evander Kane to Vancouver.
I now root for the Mets' demise. I will get joy out of every Mets loss. That is my sole purpose for this season.
I know Met fans have a deep-seated hatred for me. You know, Yankee boy.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Michael K., I can't. You're a Fordham product. I can't hate you. Just don't like that you're, going out of your way to stir this up. Welcome to the 4 o'clock hour here. Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider here. Another hot afternoon, Wednesday afternoon. NBA draft tonight, and I got to be honest, I never was into the NBA draft, but you tune in. But tonight, okay, there's absolutely no suspense whatsoever. Cooper Flagg, the presumptive number 1 overall pick by Dallas tonight. And from there, okay, it'll be just kind of a show. It's the same thing as it was last year. Same venue, same broadcast.
Doesn't really do much for me. Did you see the odds? It's a foregone conclusion that Cooper
Flagg.
But
It's 100. Yeah. 100.
Minus 50,000.
No.
It changed again?
No, it's minus 100,000 now. Minus 100,000, meaning if you put $1 down, well,
you have to put $100,000 down to win $100.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's
Flag, first overall, guaranteed.
Guaranteed. You want to join us, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Appreciate the conversation from Ben Wagner today. And by the way, I had a lot of people reaching out. Oh, the Adam Levy conversation, Nighthawks. I want to learn more about this. Here's the easiest way you can do it. Just download the Odyssey app. You can go back 72 hours in time. Gallows humor, I say this is what's going to get me fired someday. I'll say something and nope, there it is. Okay. Kidding. But the idea, it's all there. You can listen to back 4 o'clock yesterday. And fantastic time we had yesterday talking about that topic with Adam Levy. We'll get to more of the Nighthawks kind of angles here, what we're learning here about this. We had this story in baseball last night, Tim, and it's got an update today. So, because they're playing right now. Never thought we'd be talking about the Diamondbacks and White Sox, but here we are. And who goes to White Sox games these days? Okay, only diehards and jerks, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely shameful.
Yeah, where is the line when it comes to heckling opposing players? Let me start here. Where's the line? It depends on the level, okay? Youth sports, nothing. Umpires, nothing. Shush. You can't do that, okay? Now, when you get to the professional level, I'm okay if a fan says, hey, Blue, what are you looking at? I'm okay if you razz at an opposing player at bat. Sarcasm always works great. That's always a great way to go. When fans would always get, for example, Hunter Pence, admittedly a goofy type of looking guy, and people would be like, Hunter Pence, he puts ketchup on his steak, just weird stuff. Hunter Pence eats pizza with a knife and fork, things like that. I'm totally fine with. You want to kind of just have a little fun when you're going to the ballpark, and you don't necessarily have to razz an opposing player. This is way over the line. I didn't even know this story until I heard it last night. So the story is this: pitching change, and then what happens with the pitching changes? Quite often, you will have just the infield kind of gather around. You want to get the infield kind of talking. It's a good time to kind of huddle up, and when the new pitcher comes out or the manager waiting, it's a good time to have like an impromptu meeting. And what happened last night was pitching change, and the second baseman for the Diamondbacks, Ketel Marte, he's in full-blown tears. What is this? The announcers they don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows the story. Why is Ketel Marte crying? Now, sidebar, like if I say baseball players who are crying in recent years on the field, to me, and he's still playing today, give him credit, Wilmer Flores.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wilmer Flores, that was a moment where you had it being reported that he was going to Milwaukee in a trade. Do you remember the player? I remember the player.
I don't remember the player.
Carlos Gomez.
Oh, yes.
Who at the time, Carlos Gomez long out of this game, but Wilmer Flores still going on. And Wilmer Flores was playing shortstop that night for the Mets. And there's a report out there, and people have their phones, and they're all looking at this, and it gets back to Wilmer Flores. And Wilmer Flores is tearing up because he loves his teammates. He doesn't want to be a Met, and that's endearing to every New York Met fan. Like, oh, my gosh, we have a player that actually cares about the team that much. It turns out that the trade never happened.
Yeah, it wasn't even real.
No, it wasn't even real. And Flores and, Terry Collins, I remember the manager at the time, you got to go out there and play the game. You got to play the game. And he ended up doing, I think, hitting a walk off the next night, or I don't know. Details a little sketchy on that in my mind. Back to what happened last night. That wasn't it at all.
No.
This was some idiot White Sox fan bringing up Marte's dead mother. And this is the part of the story I've never heard of. So the year's 2017. I'm not sure if Marte is in the majors at that point or not. But Marte, talking to his mom, gets off the phone with his mom. Mom was driving in the car at the time, and then minutes later, she gets in an auto accident and dies. So, tragedy, before your time, what could have I done different? Like all those things. And when you're a professional athlete, you are trained not just physically, but you're trained mentally. You are trained mentally. And this fan, whatever they said in that regard, sent Marte down. How could you not feel sorry for the guy? Turns out Marte hits a home run. The Diamondbacks, because nobody goes to White Sox fans, they were able to identify the guy, finger him, get him out. Today, Major League Baseball banning this fan from all stadiums for life.
Good. That's completely necessary. You can give a professional athlete a hard time. You're a paying customer. Do what you need to do, but there's a line, and it doesn't need to be you don't need to be personal to razz a player. Like, they swing and miss. Oh, you're a bum. You're hey Marte, you stink. Like, you can be clever with it. Like, making it personal does nothing to anybody except make you look like a complete jackass. And it's completely offensive. You can be insulting and be humorous about
Listen,
it.
you can be insulting. Like, let me give you some, if you're a Red Wing fan and maybe you're just like, oh, that's kind of uncouth. Luis Acuna, Angel Acuna, was with the Mets. Now all of a sudden he's with Syracuse. Like he's walking up and be like, dude, what are you doing here?
Right.
Why are you in Rochester? That would get under his skin.
You're in the same city as me, dude.
Yeah, why? What happened? Like that's fair game. That can be fun.
You don't have to make it personal, and you don't have to be derogatory. Like, you don't need to curse, and you don't need to be offensive. Like, being personal is so over the line that it's illogical and unnecessary. You do not need to be personal to make a point that, like, you think this guy's a bum. It's fine to say whatever you need to say without bringing, unless the guy's a criminal of some sort, like, that's fair game. If you do a crime, you have to own that. But your mother dies, and that is somehow.
Well, how would you no, that's next level. It's not like the Diamondbacks are this rival of the White Sox, and this is the team we can't get past. And now I know everything about it. You really have to go digging. That was some fan thinking I could help my own team by doing this. But that's where, and I don't know the particulars, but like you would think fans around him, security around him. I mean, you also had the story last week of the Pirates pitcher wanting to throw down with somebody. You know, and well, okay, you're a major league athlete. You're an athlete at anything. You can't be fighting a fan, but how does it get to that point? Where's the security? How does that? It should never ever get to that point. So just something from last night on that. Michael Kay, you heard him a little in the open talking about kind of the state of the New York Yankees right now.
It comes down to hitting. Everybody has gone into a collective slump. They don't get enough base hits with runners in scoring position. And then you saw last night, they can't win in extra innings on the road. They just can't. That's not hyperbole. They don't know how to play little ball. And you never get that runner in. That's why they lose road games.
Like, this is something new. It's how you built this team. You went out and you signed Giancarlo Stanton. That's the whole team. And by the way, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the order. Not great. Not great at all. But this isn't a Yankee team that has any clue how to manufacture runs. It's just always been built for the big swing, which baseball in 2025 in particular, it was last year when they changed the rules. And you kind of go, so if I'm the Yankees, it's not too late, okay? But you need to find some guys that can be kind of spark plugs and run the bases and drive runs in. Extra innings, that should be like a gift. You get a runner on second, what does it take? Get a base hit. Like, baseball wants runners in motion. They want the ball in play. And the Yankees, Tim, they're still playing the game like it's the year 2004 in some regards.
They're stuck in their analytics mind. And the analytics say, and it makes no sense, analytics are important and they are very helpful. But the analytics say to score 2 runs in extra innings. It makes no sense. You need to score 1 to have a chance to win the game. Take the lead and then hold them down.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. If you got a runner on second and a base hit, okay, as opposed to a home run, you still get a runner on base.
Right.
So it's not like, okay, we're going to go to the bottom of the inning and like swing for the fences. No.
And even theoretically, you can give 2 outs and score a run. You can bunt him over and then sack fly him in. That's a run on the board too. All you need to do is score a run. Score a run. It's not hard. You get a head start. You get somebody on second base. They are married to the analytics so deeply that it's cost them countless extra inning games. It's awesome to me as Yankee hater, but it doesn't make sense to me that they have not figured out that part of the analytics is flawed.
Where would the Yankees be without Max Fried? Fried 9-2 on the season, 2.05 ERA. Like, if you're going to have we're still a couple weeks away, but who gets the nod? It's one of those July kind of who gets the nod for the All-Star game, and you would think it would be Skubal, but if I'm the Yankee fan, I'm like, hey, what about Max Fried? He's been fantastic, and this is what you call a stopper here. Kind of stop the bleeding here, Tim. Like, the Reds. I was listening today to Maggie and Perloff, and they were having a discussion about the Reds and, hey, how they're a fun team. And if you're not familiar with the Reds, they're actually 4 games above 500. And can you actually have a second favorite team? Can you be pulling for somebody? And I kind of agree with some of the guys on the show this morning. No, you can't. I'm sorry. That's not possible. Second favorite team. Get out of here with a second favorite team. If I didn't have a personal rooting interest in a favorite team,
right,
and I'm just kind of a casual observer, I just like storylines, let's say. I mean, I don't have a second favorite team in anything, Tim. I can't say that.
I have a favorite team, and then I have teams that I root for or want to do well, but I definitely don't have a second favorite.
I will preface this. I have favorite team, but then I have guys I root for whatever reason. I root for Ernie Clement, Rochester native. You hooked him up. You had him on our show, Tim. Like, you know Ernie. He's a good guy.
Yeah, you want guys that you know to do well, and you want teams that, like, the Padres to me are fun. I want them to do well. I want them to succeed because they're a fun baseball team to watch. I want them to make a run in the postseason and topple the Dodgers.
You're not cheering for them.
No, I am very much solely a Guardians fan, but there are teams that I would prefer to see succeed than others.
I'll put it this way. If the Mets don't get to the NLCS, I'd love to see Dodgers Padres as the holy cow NLCS.
Sign me up for that, especially with how it's been already this season.
Yes. Why don't we just put Old Man Schultz and Dave Roberts out there and just, give them boxing gloves or something like what makes that different, Tim, is like, okay, we're going to No, you're throwing at Ohtani. You're throwing at Manny Machado and Tati. Like, this is like there's no whole bar between these two teams, and I love it. And if you're not familiar with the dynamic out there, if you're not from L.A. and you live from California, you pretty much hate everything L.A., whether that's you live in Northern California or if you're in San Diego and you're always kind of treated as like the little brother, even though you're a nice big market. But, hey, they took our football team too. Yeah, like if you're the Padres and you catch the vibe of that, that's the team we got to get by in the standings, but that's a team that our fan base hates.
Right. It's a natural rivalry, and the two teams are supremely talented, so it makes for fun baseball. I love watching the Padres.
Kind of learned this accidentally, Tim, because family vacation was out in San Diego. San Diego's a fun town. It really is. And LA's nice too, but San Diego, if you want to, like, if you can find a cheap airfare between the zoo and the beach and Old Town, a lot of fun. And we're getting ready to go, but we got to get lunch, and we go to the fast food chicken restaurant. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Okay. It's known for their great service. They don't advertise here, so I'm not going to give them any plug, but you can figure it out. It's, yeah, we have a few locations here. And known for the great service, and we go up, and we're placing our order. Some places the order, and the woman's like, no, and then she walks away. I'm like, why? Oh, he's got a Dodger hat on. She was only messing with him. Like but even like the nice chicken place was gonna razz a Dodger fan going in San Diego.
That's the fun part of sports, though. Like, you can, as long as it's not personal, you can have fun with it. Like, no, I'm gonna give somebody a hard time because it's fun to do. Like, I'm not going to be rude to you.
Yeah.
But also, no, you cannot have that chicken.
We will have Paul Hamilton coming up at the bottom of this hour. We will talk some Sabres hockey as NBA draft tonight, but Friday night is the NHL draft. The Sabres right now at pick number 9. Former Sabre Evander Kane got traded today.
For nothing.
Just as take this salary, please, a 4th-round pick. And this is where we are with Evander Kane. And actually, Tim, if the Oilers use that cap space to get themselves some better goaltending, maybe that would be something that they would worth. I could see that move, and just another organization that Evander Kane is worn out his welcome with.
$5 million off the books. He did not have the greatest of playoff runs. He was actually pretty detrimental to their success.
I wasn't kind of banged up though this year. I don't want to defend Evander Kane.
Everybody's banged up. It's NHL hockey. If you're in the playoffs, you're not 100% if you're playing playoff hockey.
Fair enough. I get that. One other hockey note we should pass along. Congratulations to the Wynn family. They're from Webster. Haley Wynn, 2nd overall pick in the PWHL draft.
Pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah, it's a fantastic accomplishment. And it's a credit to those that do the work at Bishop Kearney. And it's a credit to everybody that is doing all the youth hockey here. And the idea that what does professional women's hockey look like 25 years from now? Do they have a national TV deal? Do you have teams around there? And the idea that, oh my gosh, like one of the building blocks for this league is actually from Rochester. Haley Wynn, selected by the Boston Fleet, is if I'm learning about these teams, the New York Sirens, the Boston Fleet. Buffalo Buttes are no longer a thing. Maybe Buffalo will get another franchise at some point. The Boston Fleet logo, by the way, Tim, it looks like they took the Hartford Whaler logo and kind of tipped it on its side. Yeah, it's a B, but you can see, all right, maybe they're going for that vibe just a little bit. The Boston Fleet, well, we will talk to Haley Wynn tomorrow on the show. That's kind of a cool thing. We wanted her to come on today, but they've got photo ops. They're doing that sort of thing up in Ottawa, where the day after. But kind of cool too. They had a red carpet. I don't know if you saw this, where like
I did. Yeah, there was another pick too. Kiara Zenon went in the second round out of the Kearney program.
Oh, okay.
I believe from Fairport, not positive, but there were two local people picked in the second round, 16th overall to Toronto. I'm blanking on the Scepters. The Toronto Scepters.
Okay.
But yeah, a couple local products here, and possibly the faces of the PWHL moving forward.
Let's talk to Paul Hamilton. We will get the thoughts of the great Paul Hamilton, the dean of the Sabres media. If he's listening right now, he's like, "What? I'm not coming on with you." 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can write to us, The Fan Rochester, and you can check us out, YouTube, Twitch, streaming online, the Odyssey app. This is The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to The Sports Bar. Rochester Sports Update.
Cooper Flagg, the presumptive number 1 overall pick tonight by the Dallas Mavericks. It's the NBA draft once again in Brooklyn. Flagg is taking it all in.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to be here, be in these moments. This is stuff I've dreamed about since I was a little kid. So, I think being here is surreal. I don't think it's really, set in yet or anything, but, I'm just trying to go through each moment and just enjoy it.
Red Wings falling today to Syracuse by a 5-1 score. Same two teams tomorrow night at Innovative Field. On the Major League scoreboard, they're going to the bottom of the first in Anaheim. The Red Sox getting the early 2-0 lead. Brewers leading the Pirates 4-2. They're in the 8th. The White Sox up on the Diamondbacks 6-3. Yankees looking to avoid the sweep tonight. They're in Cincinnati. Max Fried taking the mound. Mets looking to avoid the sweep at home against Atlanta. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-664-FN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Always happy to be joined by Paul Hamilton, WGR. As not only you get the draft, but you certainly have the start of free agency. You've got these trades kind of happening, and maybe we get something at some point involving the Buffalo Sabres. And I guess, Paul, let's just kind of start here. Like, what should be our expectation for the Sabres when it comes to activity and making moves and attempts to improve this roster and perhaps break this drought? Paul, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. Yeah, you can't really have expectations in going into a draft. It seems like just like last year, so many teams, including the Sabres, were looking to trade their pick, and Ottawa was, and other teams were, and nobody did. There were no trades. And Buffalo traded down, but as far as actually trading a pick and getting out of the first round or trading players, it didn't happen. And a lot of people thought it would. And then when you hear, well, there's not much action and nothing's going on, next thing you know, it's a run on trades. So you just never know how it's going to go. The Sabres certainly are willing to trade the 9th overall pick, if they can get in return NHL-type players that they need for their roster. They're not going to do it for prospects. They have prospects. They haven't. You never can have too many, but let's put it this way, they don't have enough spaces on the NHL roster for all their prospects. So, they have those, and I call them, their currency. And you use the currency to be able to, just like Savoy was used last year to get McLeod, and that turned out very well for the Buffalo Sabres. So, they have that currency, and I think that number 9 pick is part of the currency if they can find a trade partner and work something out that makes sense.
Yeah, we did have one team right behind Buffalo in the draft, that being Philadelphia, who, as part of a package, flipped their pick for Zegras, Trevor Zegras from Anaheim. Paul, in your opinion, should the Sabres have been in on that, perhaps?
I think they have enough underachievers. I don't think they need to be out looking for more. That's one thing about Sabre fans. They want every single person that's put on waivers, and they want every single person that's been traded. And I get that no matter who goes on waivers, and why didn't the Sabres get this person or that person? In this case, I can't remember who said it, and I apologize to the person, but somebody has said on Twitter when he got traded, it's like the fans think a lot more of this player than GMs and the NHL brass think. Because he scored a couple of the Michigan goals, so that's what people see on SportsCenter. But you see a guy that started off the first 2 years of his career on a good pace, over 60 points, and has had a huge regression ever since. Injuries have played a part in that. But even when he plays, he doesn't play that well anymore. He has a lot of problems in his game. Can he fix it? Sure, he could. But you're taking a chance. As I said, if you have a team that has you got some really good players, and you're not in the Sabres position where, the Sabres have a bunch of guys they're already hoping can get back to what they were. And I just don't see the point in adding another one. that probably might work out, but probably won't. I would rather put my if I were the GM, I'd rather put my resources elsewhere.
Paul, and I figured like between draft and trades and free agency, to me, this is all like one kind of free flowing conversation. And if it's free agency, fans, hey, let's go get this guy, let's go get that guy. You said this years ago. I recall this. Free agency in the NHL is fool's gold. Is that still the case? Because I know the Sabres aren't going to be, like, going for Marner. You wouldn't think so anyways like that. But I would think maybe there could be some guys there. Where do you come down on what the Sabres should do and might do here coming up in free agency?
Well, the reason most contracts are regretted. I remember reading something from TSN years ago that 75% of the contracts signed on July 1st are regretted within a couple of years. I don't know where they got their data from, but I believe it because there's so many contracts that are made that, and then 2-3 years down the road, they're stuck with these contracts and they're not even halfway through them yet, and they're killing their salary cap, and the player hasn't worked out because a lot of times you're getting a player that is close to 30 years old, and in the NHL, 30 years old, in some players, you start seeing a decline in what they do. And all of a sudden the decline hits, and you're only 2 or 3 years into a 7 or 8 year deal. Well, it can't be 8, but a 7-year deal, and you're absolutely stuck with it. So that's why. But the Sabres may have to do something like that. They've got to do something to improve their team. And I'll use Ekblad. He would be my number one target right now if I were the Buffalo Sabres, followed closely by Bennett, but it doesn't sound like Bennett's going to hit the market. But Ekblad, I think, would be perfect for Owen Power. You talk about getting a partner for Owen Power right in at shooting D, has some grit, has some toughness to him, knows exactly what Owen Power went through, was also a number 1 overall pick. It was actually the year the Sabres had the 2nd overall pick and had Reinhart, and then the Oilers had the 3rd overall pick and took Draisaitl, and then the 4th overall pick was Bennett. I mean, so you really couldn't lose in any of that scenario. I would but now, and I understand, and I know people listening are going, yeah, but he's not coming to Buffalo. I understand that. I'm just saying I would make him the target. And then you got to figure out a way, just like Jarmo Kekalainen, who is now with the Sabres as an assistant with Kevin Adams, did with Johnny Gaudreau. Who had Johnny Gaudreau going to the Columbus Blue Jackets? Yeah. Absolutely nobody. The Columbus Blue Jackets were never brought up. It was always the Rangers or you know the teams that are always when those guys come up.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Kekalainen found a way to convince Johnny Gaudreau that Columbus was the place for him. So he was bold in what he did. It cost a lot of money, but he can help Kevin Adams, maybe come up with an offer that convinces a guy that, all right, maybe Buffalo is a place I can go. Maybe I'd love to play with Owen Power and help him along because he has great potential. Maybe the Buffalo Sabres are on the verge of something. You got to somehow sell these guys on your team, even though you haven't been in the playoffs for 14 years, because that's such a major factor against you. You have to be able to find a way to overcome it, and that's your job to be able to do that. So against all odds, I would still make him my number 1 target. And to get back to, well, it's foolish time. Yeah, contract is probably going to cost you $2-3 million a year more than it would anybody else.
Yeah.
But the Sabres have cap space, and the cap is going up to $95 million, and it's going to go up from there after that. So you've got extra cap space because of that, and maybe to bring that kind of defenseman in is just what you need to settle things down and not be 29th in the NHL in goals against.
Paul Hamilton, our guest, WGR, Sabres, the draft coming up Friday. Buffalo picking number 9 overall, free agency next week. Who knows what when it comes to trades? And a couple questions coming out of the Kevin Adams presser yesterday. Let's start with J.J. Peterka. I listened to that, and I think it's pretty clear, Paul, that they are shopping J.J. Peterka right now. In your opinion, like what's a realistic return on that? Or might the Sabres actually be better just kind of waiting until, maybe later in the summer or perhaps even in the middle of the season? Where do we go here in terms of the storyline for J.J. Peterka?
I think they are still holding out hope that they don't have to trade him. I think this is completely agent-oriented. J.J. Peterka gave no indication at all in locker cleanout interviews with us that he was unhappy. He basically had a smile on his face. He was talking about playing for Lindy Ruff. He was talking about where he could improve his game. Just no indication at all he was unhappy. And he has a agent who will do things like that. It's like, we're going to get you to a bigger market where you can make more money, and they'll be willing to pay you. And, you'll have a city you'll be happy in because there's 9,000 things to do. And, are you happy in Buffalo? I mean, is there really anything to do there? It just seems to me that Alan Walsh convinced him that maybe he needs to move, because there was just zero indication at all that he was unhappy being in Buffalo or anything like that. So I think the Sabres are still holding out hope that maybe they can convince Peterka that this is the place that you want to be, because if some player or if the agent is staunch on saying the player doesn't want to be here, well, Kevin Adams doesn't want players that don't want to be here. So in which case then, yeah, the trade would likely be made. But now you got 2 holes in your top 6 then, because to me, you got to get Benson out of your top 6. He might eventually become a top 6 player, and I like the way he plays, but he doesn't belong there right now. You get almost no production out of him, out of your top 6 guy. So if Peterka goes, now you got 2 holes in your top 6.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm with you on that. I think Peterka, okay, that's great. You want to move him. What are you bringing back in return? Like, what would be the plan up the middle here, Paul? To me, I would just honestly kind of hold on that. There was another thing, and granted, Kevin Adams doesn't come off great sometimes. How he got defensive yesterday when talking about Samuelson, but to me, Paul, that just this is where we are right now. If you want to feel sorry for Sabre fans, don't feel sorry about something that might be online that's not true. Feel sorry for them because, well, he hasn't made the postseason in 14 years.
And that's where he has his problems. He just embarrasses himself. Why even bring it up unless one of us bring it? It was on my list to bring up, but you know how press conferences go. Sometimes you don't get to everything on your list. And, Peterka was number 1 on my list, and that's why I asked that question first. And he brought up Samuelson in the middle of answering the Peterka question. And really, my thought is, don't bring it up. At the end of the day, okay, you're not planning on buying out Samuelson. Well, guess what? When you don't buy him out, and he's either on the ice for your team or you've traded him somewhere else, people will realize that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and that it was wrong. Because it didn't happen. It'll be proven to be wrong because you're not going to. So why get defensive, and why go off on a tangent like that and just, I think, embarrass yourself by doing that? But he can't help himself. That's what got him into trouble with some other press conference when he started getting into it with the media. He started picking fights with guys who weren't even trying to pick fights with him. Now he's had guys that have tried to pick fights with him. But a couple of the battles he started, it was legitimate questions that didn't need the sarcastic answers, and he just can't help himself because he's very thin-skinned and he hates being criticized, and he has a battle with the media now. When you pass him by, you might get a grunt if you say hello to him. You're usually ignored, and that's not the way he used to be. He might stop and have a conversation with you before. But all of a sudden he started getting criticized, and he didn't like that. And you just, whether it's fair or it's not, you're not going to win a battle with the media. You're just not. So why try? Just answer questions. Afterwards, if you want to go in a room and scream and yell and swear and throw things and whatever where nobody can see you, that's great. Get rid of your frustrations there, but you're not doing yourself or your team any favors by what he does. He gets carried away, and it's because he just can't stand being criticized, and he wants to fight back. And I understand that. We all want to fight back when we're criticized. I mean, we're human. But he's got to resist that because he just doesn't look good, and he doesn't make the team look good.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, I'm sure everybody has a breaking point. It was your colleagues, and we talked to Jeremy on the phone. Like, I always look at Brandon Beane like, wow, that's the guy that knows how to deflect criticism, and he's cool with the media, and he can. But it's coming his way, and it's a team that hasn't won the championship yet. But what that taught me is like, okay, even Brandon Beane has his breaking point at some point.
Yeah. And it was only because he was on hold when Jeremy was talking about a wide receiver. He was finishing up, I don't know, with a call or a thought or whatever. So he heard him, and it happens to the best of us. It happens to you. It happens to me. All of a sudden you get mad and something comes up and you might spout off or something like that. And then afterwards you're, oh no, I wish I wouldn't have done that. And that I agree with you. I can't recall another time Beane has ever gotten like that. But it's just, and he probably has heard Jeremy talk about wide receiver. It's kind of like Jeremy's shtick too.
Yeah.
And Beane, I think for the most part, understands people and what jobs they do, what a talk show host does, what a reporter does. And a talk show host is trying to get listeners and, giving opinions and that type of thing. And I think for the most part, he gets it. But it just, all of a sudden that hit him the wrong way. Now, had he been in his car and heard that, by the next time he talked to Jeremy White, he wouldn't even have thought of it. But it just happened that he was on hold and bang, now we're on the air.
Paul, the Sabres have another area that I don't know how they're going to handle. That's the goaltending. Let me ask you a question up front. Would you think less? I mean, if the answer is yes, that's fine. I'll accept it. If I changed my opinion, would you think less of me on this?
On goaltending?
Well,
said
people
change their opinions all the time.
Yeah, I got to admit it, though, because Devin Levi here in Rochester, and I've said this, that what more could he do in Rochester? Take him, Buffalo. He's yours. But I look at the Sabres goaltending situation now, and I'm like, well, boy, they're not in a good spot because you have two guys, one that, like you talked about underperformance, UPL underperformed last year. And is you think Levi is ready, but then what if he's not? Well, then this team is going nowhere. What do the Sabres do with the goaltending position? Should they be bringing in somebody that could actually, do a 50-50 split here with UPL, let's just say, and let Levi come back to Rochester, at least for the start of next season?
Well, Levi gave me pause with the way he performed against Laval. He played the best team in the regular season, and it didn't go well at all after he was lights out against Syracuse. And actually, you look at his numbers in the last 2 years in the playoffs, even adding in the Laval numbers, they're great. Very good playoff numbers. Which is a good sign for him. He's an AHL All-Star. He arguably, and I would say in my estimation, is the best college goaltender that's ever lived. So he has a resume that would tell you he's going to be a very good NHL goaltender. But he has been handed the job twice. He was not up for it either time, even close. But he wasn't developed correctly. And now I think he has been. In the last year and a half, I think the Sabres have done a good job with him. You bring him up when you have to a couple of times, but let him go through the playoffs and getting him down. You're the guy in Rochester. This is your team. You're the number. You're going to play a lot. And I think he's responded very well. Problem I have with the whole thing is Luukkonen was one of the best goaltenders in the National Hockey League, not last year, but the year before for 35 games. His numbers were on top of the league. He was great making the big saves when they needed to be made, and there wasn't as much of that last year. Sometimes he would, but not enough. He regressed back. So if you could say, well, Luukkonen's going to work hard over the summer. He absolutely will. There's no question. I know he does work hard, and he's going to get it back. He just had a few slips. He's going to be with his goaltending coach in Finland. He's going to, figure it out, get it back, and he'll be just fine in training camp. That could happen. And you know what else could happen? Is he could get worse. He could keep regressing. That could happen too. I mean, Levi could I build on a very good season in Rochester and just they feel the Laval thing was a little bit of a slip up and come up in Buffalo and now be ready and be very good. And you know what? He could get bombshelled again like he has the 2 times he's been handed a job because maybe he's not ready yet. Maybe he does need more seasoning. That could happen too, and they can't afford for that to happen. What if that happens to both of them?
Right.
What if neither one of them is ready? Adam says he's fine with coming into the season with both of them, and it could work great. They could both be great. That could happen. That very well could happen. But I as a GM, I wouldn't take that chance knowing you haven't been in the playoffs for 14 years because we all know you have to have goaltending if you're going to make the playoffs. You can't be 29th in goals against. And that's not just on goaltending, but it's not just on the defense either. Yeah, the Sabres for a long time in this season did not play well in front of the goaltenders. But the goaltenders also did not make the big saves when they needed to. And it was on them as a group. So I just wouldn't be able, in good conscience, to come running into the season right now with 2 unproven guys in the net, hoping, as Jason Zucker said, and I agree 100%. I'm going to use this for the rest of my life. Hope is not a strategy.
No.
And that's a great saying. Hope is not a strategy, and I think it has to be more than just James Reimer. And Luukkonen's get it back. We'll have James Reimer here to back it up because if Luukkonen doesn't get it back, I don't think James Reimer can do a whole season what he did at the end of the season. He's going to be 38 years old, and I just don't think he can. He helped him out in the last month or month and a half, and he was good then. But I don't think if you've gotten through October and this isn't working out, and you got to throw him in net for the rest of the year. I just don't think that works.
Well, maybe it's radical. Maybe this is something that's too brass for the Buffalo Sabres to do. But what if there was a team that was willing to give you a known commodity? This is the guy in net we're offering. And in exchange, we're going to take one of your goaltenders that, hey, maybe they've underperformed in Levi or Luukkonen, but maybe we think they have a bigger ceiling. Paul, could you see a scenario like that? And the second part of that question is, which of the 2 guys do you think would be more likely, if there is an answer to that? Because you could say UPL based on the numbers from last year, but he's also carrying this contract. I'm sure that a lot of teams wouldn't think too highly of.
I don't think a contract's a big deal. It's like 4.75 for a goaltender. That's cheap. I don't think that's a big deal at all. For that. But yeah, I've resisted that of trading one of the 2 young goalies because I believe that I thought, especially in Levi's case, I thought Levi was going to be special. Still could be. I'm not saying he's not going to be. But, they thought no goaltender's ever gone straight from college hockey to the starting job in the NHL. And the Sabres, I don't know if you want to call it arrogance or whatever, decided that Levi was going to do that. And it blew up in their face. They never should have tried it. And maybe if they would have developed him correctly from the start, he would be ready to be in the NHL right now. But, and that didn't help his confidence getting shelled, not when he first got out of college and played those 7 or 8 games, but, the next year where they handed him the job and he just wasn't up for it whatsoever. So, this would be the first year I would probably say to you, yes, I would be ready to do that because I don't – if you really pin me down, I don't think they both are going to be good NHL goaltenders. One of them may. I think it's going to be a stretch at this point to think that they're both going to be very good NHL goaltenders. So – if somebody was willing to do that, I'm on board with that now, or maybe last summer I would have given you a different answer.
Paul Hamilton, WGR. You can read his work, WGR 550. And, of course, you appear on every show in that station. Paul, thank you. It's always a treat catching up with you. And, good luck to your Yankees here trying to turn things around there, buddy.
Well, they're still in first place. I mean, you have some bumps in the road sometimes, so they're in a bump in the road, but I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, probably. Paul, thanks so much, and enjoy these next few days here.
Take care.
Thanks, Paul Hamilton. Great stuff. Love talking to Paul. Gosh, so much we could kind of dig into there. Where do you come down on the goaltending?
Levi's the answer. I just don't know if it's this coming season. I think he starts in Rochester. I think he dominates probably through the All-Star break, and then it's time to take the reins. He's NHL ready. He's just not NHL superstar.
That's where I have abandoned the take that he needs to start out in Buffalo. I've kind of come around that, all right, you really want to develop him properly. You got to leave anything beyond a shadow of a doubt. And Paul's right. That Laval series there was for the taking. And was Levi the reason why the Amerks lost? No, he wasn't.
He severely struggles. It's his hometown team, and maybe that's part of it.
Maybe that was.
But it's interesting.
But getting that experience, and this is what it's like. And the Syracuse crunch, that wasn't Laval. And for that matter, Laval wasn't Charlotte. And for that matter, did you see we have a champion?
Yeah.
Oh, the Abbotsford Canucks. Yay.
Did it in 6.
Yay.
Good for them.
Good for them. The AHL meetings are this week, which would mean we might get the AHL schedule, which that blows my mind too. And this is an annual take I have. For anybody that gets excited about your favorite hockey team and puts out, is it October yet? No, it's not October. It's June and it's July. You know what? I like summer. I really like summer.
I do too.
Stop.
I miss hockey, but it'll be here soon enough. Yeah. Let me enjoy these 3 or 4 months of nice weather, and rather than hockey through July.
We've got happy hour coming up on the way. Shots in the sports bar. Time for your reaction. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Look, it is summer. You want to pull up a stool and join us, you are more than welcome. This is Rochester's only sports talk show, The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
It's the NBA draft tonight, once again in Brooklyn, and there will be no suspense. Cooper Flagg, the presumptive number 1 overall pick by Dallas. Flagg knows where he's headed.
So if that is the case, that ends up happening. I mean, I've heard it's an incredible fan base with incredible support, so I'll be excited to learn more about it and get down there.
Rochester Red Wings fall at Innovative Field by a 5-1 score to Syracuse, same two teams tomorrow night. On the Major League scoreboard, 2 finals today in the Battle of Rookies, where for the Brewers, it was rookie Jake Mizorowski, 5 innings, no earned runs, outdoing Paul Skeens. Skeens, 4 runs in 4 innings. Brewers over the Pirates 4-2. Chicago, the White Sox over the Diamondbacks 7-3. Red Sox with a 2-0 lead on the Angels. Padres up 1-0 on the Nationals. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
With the first pick in the NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks select
Cooper Flagg.
Celtics trade Kristaps Porzingis to the Hawks, part of a 3-team deal with the Nets.
Kyrie Irving isn't going anywhere. We also had the Pelicans and Wizards doing some business yesterday.
The Lakers,
Mike Danger.
And while I'm a company shill, you heard me, I'm just a company shill.
Gene Battaglia.
The Rochester Nighthawks.
And let us hope that there is a local owner or someone who wants to keep the team in Rochester.
I get memos on my desk every morning.
Here's a memo.
I feel bad for our fans.
Every time he speaks, he drives me nuts. Fax rings up. Kevin Adams, you're bad at your job.
The Edmonton Oilers have sent veteran forward Evander Kane to Vancouver.
I now root for the Mets' demise. I will get joy out of every Mets loss. That is my sole purpose for this season.
I know Met fans have a deep-seated hatred for me. You know, Yankee boy.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I've been working with one of our producers, Dan DeLorean, now for coming up in August. This will be year number 9 for the Sports Bar. Welcome back. Happy hour here. Gene Battaglia with you. Mike Danger off this week. Terrible take, Timmy Schneider in with us. And I haven't figured it out, Dan, yet. Because he hate watches every team. For him to put the Dan Fates after the Braves now won for Atlanta, that's now 5 in a row that the Braves have beaten the Mets, and they're going to go for the sweep again tonight, and I don't feel too good about this, Tim. There's a Met team that is in a serious rut now, and the Braves still 4 games below 500. Welcome. I don't know. You have any thoughts on Dan DeLorean, what that is? I'm just going to...
I think he's just a great producer who is able to put his allegiances aside to put together a good open. I don't know. He's a Mets fan, right?
You just have like an evil smile on your face for everybody watching on YouTube. Yep, that's Timmy. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We'll have the Nighthawk things we've learned here exclusively on the Fan Rochester. All right. We'll get to that in a second. But NBA draft tonight? Yeah, okay, great. Cooper Flagg goes number 1. Your favorite team drafts somebody you've never heard of. This is, and it's again in Brooklyn. Again, it's the. Can I say this? I think America is done with the ESPN, ABC, Disney coverage of the NBA. I think we are fully ready for something new. Bring me the Amazon. Bring me whatever NBC looks like here. It just feels. From the same venue to the same talking heads, just kind of very tired and sleepy. I think the ratings actually showed a little bit there for the NBA Finals on that.
I am all set on, and get this draft over with, and then let's just turn the page.
Let's get football talk?
Anything.
Yeah.
NHL draft is right up around the corner as well. We can dive into that, but Cooper Flagg first overall, and then I'm turning it off. I don't even need to watch it, but I'll watch the first 5 minutes just to see the ceremonial hat wearing, and then I'm done.
Here's what I would like you to know here about the Rochester Nighthawks. And these are all true stories in the last 24 hours. As we're making calls, we're digging around, and kind of when we're digging around, other people are digging around too. I had an employee of the Nighthawks. And I can't give you anything more than that. All right? It's all in the QT and everything. But that employee knows nothing. Completely in the dark. You would think, okay, what do you know? Like, and legitimately, if we're just recapping the story here for the Rochester Nighthawks, Monday, Amerks put out a statement saying, hey, we reached a 5-year deal with VenueWorks. Fantastic. Right after that, since our lease is up with the Nighthawks, you know what? We're no longer going to operate the Rochester Nighthawks, the Pagulas. Well, it's kind of open-ended. You gave a date of June 30th. What's the open-ended part? Did you sell the team to the league? Did you sell it to somebody else? Is there somebody waiting in the wings? Okay, these are the types of stories where you're not telling us things, then we're going to start digging, okay? And that's where we're at. And we've been talking about this, and the thing I learned over the last 48 hours on social media, there's a lot of people in this town that care about lacrosse, that care about this, and can kind of recognize, like, even if you don't, you should recognize the fact that it brings something to our town. And just kind of for the Pagulas not to have a clear path, and if they did, they're not communicating that, it's a little unsettling. How do I know they're not having a clear path and not communicating? Because one of your employees called me. Are you kidding? And this person I have great respect for. And honestly, like, they said, hey, can you put the do you have it on the website? Like, no, here is our interview with Adam Levy, who, by the way, if you missed it, 4:00 yesterday on the show. Odyssey app, download it. Our conversation with Adam Levy, you can go back and listen to. And he had the same viewpoint, that this doesn't look good. He's not optimistic. Okay. Well, Tim, I have sources, and I can't give you my sources. But here's what happened with the players. And if you're the Pagulas, you know this is absolutely true. That when this announcement came out that the Pagulas were walking away, when did the players learn about it? At least to their credit, they didn't learn right then and there like the rest of us. They learned 1 hour beforehand. 1 hour beforehand. So what can we kind of deduce from that? I would have thought at the exit interview, you might have said, hey, by the way, we're not sure. Maybe it was just kind of already kind of known at that point, because it's not a surprise that, the team has been for sale for some time. But that's a little kind of disturbing.
It could have been assumed for a long time, but to have that known internally only an hour before it became a public thing is an abject failure as far as, I don't know. I'm not a business manager, but that is not how I would operate my business if I was one.
Speaking of business managers, and I can't tell you what local business this is, because their reaction, they're like, Gene, we'll tell you everything we know, but we don't want to get dragged into this. No problem. No problem. That's not where. Well, what about sponsors? Like, we know season ticket holders. You haven't been made the ask, but like sponsor dollars, you got to get that tied up here. Well, no, this particular sponsor of Rochester Night Lacrosse has not been told by their rep what's going on. Not even a phone call. And to me, that's just kind of an easy thing, right? And even the answer is I don't know. And even though this might be an uncomfortable conversation, what are you doing? Unless Tim, it's like breaking up with a girl, and I don't know, like when you were dating like years ago, and you would break up. Sometimes you want to do it the right way, but quite often you don't do the right way. You just kind of stop calling, and you just kind of walk away, and that's kind of how this feels here. You're breaking up the wrong way.
It's a disgraceful way to go about things, because even if you don't have all the answers, if somebody's asking, you better acknowledge them at least. If you've got people that are funneling money into your program and into your organization, and they're, for lack of a better word, their lease is about to renew, what do we do?
Yeah.
Like, you're stuck in limbo. Like, if you're going to do advertising, if you're going to spend money with them, if that no longer exists, you either choose to put that elsewhere or the money goes somewhere else. You're costing other people
Yeah,
opportunities to advertise.
That's not how it works. Like, people think that it's like selling candy bars when you're trying to sell your high school band trip. No, like, budgets are set way in advance, sometimes like a year or more in advance. And if you have something set aside, wait, is this Nighthawk thing going to happen? You know what? We're going to invest. Somebody else is going to steal that money.
Right.
So if you actually do have somebody waiting in the wings, that person waiting in the wings is like, what the hell?
You left me with nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, nothing.
And now I am on the hook to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
It's a shameful way to conclude
Yeah,
this.
and so this person I was talking to today, just like, Gene, keep digging. I'm like, absolutely. But kind of along those same lines, like, don't. So let's review. Players were told 1 hour beforehand. Sponsors not told anything. Season ticket holders not said. I mean, it points to a move, Tim. Because, again, if I'm adding all the pieces, and this is my speculation, that when the league takes the team over, you wouldn't have the Pagulas saying on June 30th, hey, we're moving, we sold the team and they're moving to Charlotte. You want that 6 degree of separation. Now the league on July 1st will own it. And the league can be the bad guy. Hey, we tried to make it work. Shoulder shrug emoji in Rochester. We couldn't find anybody.
And if that's the case, and if that's the reality, okay, so be it. But be more forward and upfront about it. Don't kick the can down the line and hope that we forget, because we're in this room right now. We're on day 3 of it, and we're not going to stop talking about it.
Hunter writing in. You can write to us, the Fan Rochester, our handle. He's at Womp Thump, which if we get time someday, I'll explain, but it's not worth it. Trust me on that. I'm at my name, Gene Battaglia, or you just hit us up, the Fan Rochester. Hunter writing in. Honest question. Can you blame any Nighthawk that wants to play in Buffalo? Players aren't paid enough to go where the team tells them to. I know some Nighthawks live near Buffalo St. Catharines. Their day jobs are in this area. They're not moving to Vegas. Hunter, to answer your question, no. No, it's not about the players. Honestly, like, if a player wants to go somewhere else, as long as they're a Nighthawk, you're all in on Rochester. But if your contract's up and you want to go play for a better opportunity, it's like any other sport. I'm not going to hold that against them. What I would say, Hunter, though, is this story's a little different if you're the players' union. It's not a Buffalo versus Rochester thing. It's a jobs thing. It's a jobs thing. The idea that this league said, fold. I can't believe this day and age a professional sports league would fold a team, Tim. Like, there are so many people that would love the novelty of owning a team, but down in Dallas, they couldn't make it work. And a lot of rumors that the team would move. You also have these other rumors, and I can't substantiate this. Maybe I got to reach back to Adam Levy. That Philadelphia's in trouble. Like, they've got an arena issue, and you've got not one but 2 franchises, Rochester being one, Philadelphia being another. So not where you want to play. It's just like, can I play in this league? Because you do the musical chairs, and there's going to be some good players that aren't going to be in this league next year just because there are not enough roster spots.
And that's, if the Philadelphia thing is true, that's crazy as well, because Philadelphia and Rochester are 2 of the longest tenured lacrosse organizations in lacrosse. Like,
no, actually, they're not. The actual franchises, they were both expansion. So Philadelphia,
sure, I mean the cities.
Oh, the
cities.
cities.
I mean the cities.
Oh yeah, the wings. But, and I can't speak to Philadelphia, but our palettes change. You know, I don't know if the wings make money. I don't. You know, there's not the TV revenue. There's other costs involved. So I always thought Rochester would work because you can recruit the talent, the players, from an area that is rich, and even they may not live in Rochester, Ontario is a 2.5-3 hour drive. Like, it's not bad.
It's a feasible market for the players. The players love it here.
Yeah,
I know that. But if the ownership is washing their hands of it and it's no longer sustainable, like, it really stinks, because this is a lacrosse-rich market, and it deserves, and it is viable.
I mean, in one of the markets that's rumored, and again, it's just a rumor, is Charlotte. Folks, it's simple. You keep the band together, and instead of driving over the border in practice, it's like they're not based in Charlotte. They're based in Ontario, and you're flying from Pearson Airport in Toronto down to Charlotte for every home game. So every week is you're going on the road for every week, but that was the case here in Rochester, too. All these guys had to drive in. So, again, like, I hear you. For somebody that says, I don't care about lacrosse. Well, if you're listening to our station, you probably care about Rochester. And that's why, and if you listen to our station, you probably care about the Pagulas. So with the Pagulas are asking you money for the Amerks and for the Bills and for everything else. And then this is kind of going on. We're not kind of getting a clear picture. I'm not going to let it go. Sorry. Not happening.
Keep banging the drum.
Yeah. Anybody that wants to reach out, you are more than welcome to reach out. 93 degrees, the temperature right now in Cincinnati. Do you think Max Fried will pull himself out of after 88 pitches tonight?
Absolutely not. No, he is an actual gamer as opposed to teammate Carlos Rodon.
This is the fine line, right? Like, because you and I were talking about this. Like, we had the heat in Cincinnati, on the field temperature 107. It's not the air temperature. And there was Ellie De La Cruz and, making a mess on the field. He got sick. That can happen if you're not hydrated properly. I don't think this was that last night. Carlos Rodon, with the Yankees leading. Okay, Skip, I'm tired.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
Tired. You're a professional athlete.
These guys take care of their bodies like no one else.
Honestly, okay, then you go back out in the sixth, and let's say there's a hit here or there. Your pitching coach and manager be like, okay, get him out of here. I'm sorry, Tim. Whatever the sport is, you give everything until there's nothing left to give. I mean, what things in sport are acceptable? I guess if you're in a defensive line rotation, that's something. I guess if you've been on the ice for a shift that goes more than a minute and a half, that's acceptable too. If you're on the mound and you throw 88 pitches as a starting pitcher who does this one time a week, I'm sorry, like Yankee fans, you have to be like, what the hell?
Yeah,
the hell is that?
It makes you look like a bad teammate, and it makes you question whether or not you even want to be there at all. Like, not to compare him to Anthony Rendon by any means, but
no, Anthony Rendon is a terrible individual. I'm sorry, you took that. You should just give all that money back. If you're not familiar with this, like, he signs the big money deal with the Angels, and then he talks about how he doesn't like baseball and he's getting injured all the time, and that's an Angel problem. That's like, okay, there's something serious there. Is the comparison to Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson fair? Anthony Richardson, he got tired during a game, and he tapped out. And when that happened, we're like, what? You don't ever see, like, a quarterback get tired. Why are you getting tired? I mean, maybe he wasn't feeling well. Maybe he wanted timeout. See, that's the thing. Like, could the Yankees have done a better job protecting Rodon, or are they hanging him a little bit, Tim?
I think that Rodon kind of pantsed himself here.
He did, right.
I don't think the Yankees are to blame for it whatsoever, because they know 88 pitches, you're a starter. You should be able to go. Like, I get that the numbers have changed and the pitch count thing is very important, but 88 is nothing, and he was doing well.
But it was hot out, Tim.
Sack up. Do your job.
I know. Like, look, I don't want to be the Grandpa Simpson mean here, okay, yelling at the clouds. Why are we so soft? I'm not asking you, have we gotten soft? And can we just acknowledge that we're all just a little softer now? What happened? Why? Was it the pandemic? Was it working from home? What is it?
I think COVID ruined everything. It changed the mindset, it changed the culture, and it changed the perspective of reality. And it gives us an out pretty much for everything.
Yeah. Well, I think it's easier to identify who's willing to go at it nonstop and people who, all right, this is going to kind of give me an excuse. Like, working from home.
Probably awesome.
I hate it. Given that option, no, I want to work. Like, home, there's all sorts of distractions. When I'm home, I want to be home. Like, what? Like, am I the only one that's like that? Like, when I'm at work, I want to work. When I'm at home, I want to be looking at my email and answering phones. And that's why I choose not to work from home at 9 a.m. in the morning.
There's a convenience factor for sure, but there's also definitely some things that could throw a wrench into how your productivity would typically go, like being here.
We were joined earlier today. If you missed it, if you're an Oriole, enunciate my words here, Tim. A Baltimore Oriole fan. Ben Wagner, who is one of the radio play-by-play guys. Fantastic guy. And, yes, he did work with Spectrum for many years. It's kind of weird. Like, he would do the high school football preview show on the stage, and I would go in and just be like a weekly guest, and I would talk about Aquinas football and do everything. And like now, Ben's doing up, and so Ben is kind enough to give us time. It was fantastic, and right off the top, I asked him this question. I mean, because we live in the moment, but if you're a baseball fan, every team seemingly has this young stud, or one is on the way. And if your team is really good, you've got more than one star. It hasn't always been like that. Case in point. Like, when did you think we'd ever talk about, my gosh, this Wednesday afternoon Milwaukee Brewer-Pittsburgh Pirate matchup? Look at this. Well, Skeens is on the mound for the Pirates, and Jake Mizorowski lowering his ERA to 1.13, Tim, the rookie. They let him only go 5 innings, 74 pitches. That I understand because he's a rookie, blah, blah, blah. 8 strikeouts, no runs. Milwaukee over the Pirates 4-2. Ask Ben that question. Is this the best? He said it's not the best all time, but the best in 10 years in Major League Baseball.
I think it might be the best all time, but
I do too.
There were the superstars then are still superstars now, and we've got more coming through. So I think right now is the best it's ever been. And Mizorowski is 17 innings into his career, I think. He's allowed 3 hits. He's brought a perfect game into his second start, a no-hitter. He didn't allow a hit before he was pulled in his first start. That guy is a budding superstar, and he outdueled the superstar.
So if we did a side-by-side comparison of Skeen's rookie season and what Mizorowski's done so far, shouldn't Jake Mizorowski start the All-Star game?
I wouldn't go
yeah,
that far.
Skeens, well, what happened last year?
Skeen started the All-Star game.
Same thing.
I don't know.
Same thing.
I think Mizorowski got called up too late. Same thing. Because we knew the Skeen story, and he's dating the beautiful girl, and we all kind of and we felt sorry for the Pirates. Now, the Brewers aren't this winning organization, but at least the Brewers got to the postseason. They've had some like that fed into everything last year. Like, oh my gosh, here comes the savior for the Mizorowski. This wasn't on our radar. It really wasn't. When he got called up, Aaron Savali was the guy. Aaron Savali like, oh, if you're not going to take me out of the rotation, then trade me. Okay, you're traded. Congratulations, you're a Chicago White Sox. And now look, the guy that replaced him is doing all this. Let's get to shots in the sports bar, as we will talk a little bit about tonight. Well, some other NBA moves, Tim, that we haven't gotten to. Is there a team in the East that's willing to kind of step up? We don't think that the Knicks are going to be this team, but I'm going to give you another guy, another team here perhaps. Another former Sabre getting dealt today as well, and congratulations to a local star. No. Did you see who's hosting the ESPYs? I did.
Yeah, this is maybe got a little hope for this. 866-4FAN, 866-4326 here on The Fan Rochester.
calling play-by-plays. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
NBA draft is tonight, and Cooper Flagg, the presumptive number 1 overall pick by Dallas. Flagg is just taking it all in.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to be here, be in these moments. This is stuff I've dreamed about since I was a little kid. So, I think being here is surreal. I don't think it's really, set in yet or anything, but, I'm just trying to go through each moment and just enjoy it.
Red Wings get tripped up at home today by a 5-1 score to Syracuse. Same two teams tomorrow night at Innovative Field. On the Major League scoreboard, they're in the 5th. The Red Sox and Angels tied at 2 out in California. Also in Southern California, the Padres up on the Nationals 1-0. They're in the 6th. Final, the White Sox over the Diamondbacks 7-3. Brewers doubling up the Pirates 7-2. Yankees tonight in Cincinnati. The Mets hosting Atlanta. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Bills, Sabres, Amerks. Your home for live sports is 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Some of the things we haven't gotten to in sports today. Welcome, we call this Shots here in the sports bar. And, would you do this for fun? Cooper Flagg now minus 100,000 to be the first overall pick in the NBA draft tonight. Meaning, okay, you'd have to bet a lot of money just to win $1. Would you do that as a joke if you had the money? I mean, it's not worth it.
For $1? No.
It's 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN A and ABC. Barclays Center again in Brooklyn, which someone's got to explain to me why. Like, you don't move this around? Like, why don't you move this around? Like, I would think that you could make this like kind of an event. They do it in the NHL. The NBA just kind of settled it in Brooklyn, but whatever. Dallas, San Antonio, Philadelphia, Charlotte, and Utah. Those are your top 5 tonight. Dallas
taking that lottery spot and getting Cooper Flagg is
not fair.
Such a joy for them and a joke to everybody else after the Doncic trade. Lucky them.
Well, do first-round picks beyond guys that are locks like this even matter? Case in point, Boston Celtics are finalizing a 3-team deal that's going to involve Atlanta and Brooklyn. And the main piece of this, Kristaps Porzingis. So we knew the Celtics were going to have to take a half step back because they're kind of screwed when it comes to the cap. And yesterday we had Drew Holiday going to Portland. Now it's Porzingis to Atlanta. The Hawks are sending Terrence Mann and the 22 pick to the Nets. The Hawks are also going to send Georges Niang and a second-round pick to the Celtics. What did the Nets give up, Tim? Do you know?
No idea.
Nothing. The Nets gave up nothing, and they get a first-round pick, all because they took on Mann $47 million on the remaining on his contract.
So they're taking in money. And
they're taking in money. See, this is wrong. Like, legitimately, if you mismanage your cap that badly, like the NFL, they've got rules against this. This is a few years ago with the Brock Osweiler trade.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah, like Brock Osweiler, okay, hey, Browns, can you take this contract for us? And like, all right, we'll do a pick swap and we'll give you a really good pick. And it was lopsided. And I thought the commissioner should be like, yeah, no, you're not going to, that's a you problem. But they let that go. And essentially, Cleveland kind of bought a draft pick for taking on a bad contract there.
Yeah, you foster in the salary cap hell, and I guess you get a prize out of it. So if it works, it works. But I don't think that that's very above board.
But now to the point where, all right, who could be good in the East next year? I'm not going to go with Atlanta because, yes, Porzingis has this magic pixie dust. There he is in bought. Like when he was the guy in New York, not so good. When he was a complimentary piece, he was really good. Oh, by the way, he wasn't right all this year. But maybe he gets up right Atlanta. But I just don't think their lead guy down in Atlanta is all that.
No, I agree with you. He's a very good player. I don't think he's good enough to get them over the top. Cleveland will still be very good. Orlando.
People are high in Orlando.
That's about it.
No, I'm not going to say, well, Sixers, they're going to get the number 3 overall pick, and then they'll have their star healthy. I don't know if we'll ever see Embiid again. Like, you'll see him, but you're not going to, I'm saying, hey, a guy who could lead you to great things. No.
No longer MVP caliber Joel Embiid.
No, so that's a team that's going to be, as we say in the sports bar, farting around in the standings, I think. Again, July 1st coming up in the NBA too, and we have all this movement. Or it's not July 1st. All these can't be official until July 6th. July 6th. Hockey's July 1st. That's July 6th. We did touch on this earlier today, and the follow-up to the story, the White Sox today posting a message to Ketel Marte on their scoreboard, almost like kind of apologizing on their behalf that such a nut job fan got in last night. Major League Baseball has banned this fan from all 30 parks for life. What happened last night? What happened was this. Marte up at the plate, and some fans started heckling him about his dead mother. Where does this come from? And I didn't even know the story, but this happened back in 2017 with Ketel Marte. He was a very good second baseman, by the way. Was on the phone with his mom. Mom gets off the phone, and then moments later she gets in an auto accident. That was it. I can't imagine what, losing a parent, but then on top of that. But the athletes that they're so trained to tune out and be conditioned, and then it wasn't right then and there at the plate that this happened. This was like on the mound later when he started, thoughts entered his mind.
Right.
And, okay, that, something isn't right. Well, his team came, got behind him. The manager, Lavolo, saw the guy, threw him out. And I just, what's wrong with people?
You have to be a special kind of jerk to go to that level. Like, you can heckle, you can talk smack, you can berate, you're a paying customer, do what you need to do, but there's levels to it that you just don't approach. And I don't think you need to swear, and I don't think that you need to do anything personal towards the player. Like, you can make fun of them for whatever's going on, but you don't need to attack their family or like something tragic that happened to them. Like, what do you get out of it other than exposing yourself as a complete jerk?
Here, the line is this, Tim. Like, if you're sitting across from the person, would you have the courage to needle someone this in person? Like, that's kind of it. Like, you can say, hey, like, if you're going to go to the Red Wing game tomorrow night, and Luis Angel Acuna for the Syracuse Mets down, okay, this would be fair. Hey, what are you doing in Rochester? Weren't you up with the Mets? Totally fair game. Totally fair game. And he'd probably be like, yeah, whatever.
I'll be there soon, and you'll be here. Thank you for paying to watch me, basically. Like, they don't go back and forth like that, but that's fine. But you don't need to make it personal. Like, even saying your brother is better than you, that's fine.
Okay. Have you ever heckled an athlete?
Not personally. Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself one of the, cheer captains for the fan section back when I was in college.
Has an athlete ever came back at you?
Actually, yes.
I've got a story too, so you go with your story.
There is a photo of, it's on my Instagram. I went back and captured it from TV. Jordair Jet literally telling me, like, it's you can't even say it on the radio. Like, he's
holding
his privates and telling me to basically.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that occurred. It wasn't personal. That was when I said that he's got like a stupid. He's named after shoes, Air Jordans. His name is Jordair Jet.
Okay. All right.
That's a stupid name. You're named after shoes, and he was incensed enough to. He probably could have been teed up in today's day and age.
Yeah. All right. That's interesting. So, my story is, I'm at a Met game. I know, shocking that I would pop off at a Met game. I'm in college, and so this isn't Citi Field. This is Shea Stadium, old Shea Stadium, right? And if you remember old Shea Stadium, it was really designed, it was like a horseshoe, right? But they had these portable bleachers out in left center field. And you could rent it was all for group seating. So I'm out in those portable bleachers in left center field, and it was a great place to watch a ball game. And the Mets are playing the Reds, and it's the bottom of the first, and out come the Cincinnati Reds, and it's center fielder Dave Collins for the Cincinnati Reds. Remember Dave Collins? He was a guy, this is from the 90s, big glasses, kind of a nerdy looking guy, could always kind of run the bases, good batting average. Except not this time, Tim. He entered the game with a batting average of 198. So I'm like, he's out there in center field, okay, and he's just playing catch. And I say, Collins, 198? 198, and you're still here? He takes a few steps over. I'm like, oh, my gosh, he's coming over. And the sad part is I'm trying. And everybody started laughing. And that was it. Like, he honestly, like, I'm like, oh, my gosh, my heart went up in my throat. Like, oh, my gosh, he's taking he heard me do that. And then he just joked and laughed with it.
It is interesting.
So, like,
to
if I,
have that
like,
happen.
yeah, like, I don't even know if Dave Collins is still with us these days, but if I ever met the guy, I'd be like, oh, yeah, they're kind of not real proud that I did that.
We're all human.
That's it.
But this
isn't anything like talking what this guy did in Chicago.
Correct.
That's, saying, hey, you have a bad batting average. That's totally fair.
Right.
Game,
Be better
man.
at your job, which I said yesterday to Kevin Adams. Well, not to his face, but if he wants to listen, it's there. Same thing. Yeah. Like, that's different than being belligerently personal towards a tragedy that happened to somebody and a family member. That's inexcusable, and it's good that he's been banned by all of baseball.
Do the Vancouver Canucks win the Stanley Cup next year?
No.
I say this tongue-in-cheek because we have this pattern of every team that wins the Cup will have a former Sabre on it during this drought. Vancouver today picking up Evander Kane. What was the trade? Well, Edmonton getting a return a fourth-round pick, which they dealt to Ottawa once upon a time, and it makes its way back. So they're just getting back a pick they originally had, again, in the fourth round, which a fourth-rounder screams development. Who's the Oilers AHL team? I don't even know. It's got to be a team out west.
The Bakersfield Condors.
Wow, that's a pull. Well, we won't be seeing wherever this fourth-round pick is. The move is essentially a salary dump, 5.125 coming off the Oilers cap. Vancouver picking up Kane's contract in full. And let's just kind of remember this. Evander Kane, not a good dude.
Correct.
Not a good dude at all.
$5 million off the books for Edmonton. Salary dump. Maybe they'll buy a goalie.
That's it. If I'm Connor McDavid, and to think that, Tim, it feels like you've been doing the show with me for long time now, and it's been less than 2 weeks. But when we started this journey together, we had oh my gosh, will the Oilers move off of Connor McDavid? Your thoughts? And, well, if you're Connor McDavid, hey, more than me resign, let's do this, this, and this. He's one of the rare athletes that should be shaping the roster, I think. And maybe this is a step here. I don't know what his relationship was with Evander Kane, but if you want to go out and buy yourself a better goalie, hey, that's a good start right there.
Cut the fat and improve in places that need improving, yes.
Congratulations to Webster's Haley Wynn. She was drafted number 2 overall in last night's PWHL draft by the Boston Fleet. Wynn's going to join us on the show tomorrow afternoon at 4:25. I think that's kind of really cool.
Quite the accomplishment. She was a guest during the playoff run for the Amerks, so we've already heard from her on these airwaves a little bit, if you were listening, and it'll be a fun conversation tomorrow for somebody who is the future face of the PWHL.
Yeah, can this be a league that gains traction? And I think what they're doing is smart. They're just going to hockey crazy markets, and Boston is a hockey crazy market. People don't realize, but like when it comes to the Beanpot and other stuff, when it comes to pro sports, I mean, I'm putting the Bruins like number 4 on the list. But when it comes to people that love hockey in Boston, it's a great market.
Oh, yeah, there's tons of programs. So you've got Boston College, Harvard, Holy Cross is in that region.
No, stop with that.
What?
It's in the region. We're RIT here. Get them out of there.
Well, it's still
in
Boston.
Worcester. I would put, Atlantic
Northeastern.
hockey. Yeah, Northeastern. There we go.
There's a lot. That's a hockey crazed area. So good for Boston and good for Haley Wynn. But also go RIT.
Thank you. Shane Gillis will be hosting the ESPYs. Over the past 10 years, only 2 comedians have hosted this award event. Joel McHale in 2015, who, by the way, Joel McHale tonight, does he come back on The Bear? Are you into The Bear? No, I never watched the show.
Easy. Yes, I like The Bear.
Tonight?
I did not know it's back tonight.
It's back tonight.
But, then I guess I've got something to do.
I don't know if this is season 3 or if it's just part 2 of season 2.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Whatever it is, but like when we last left, the review was going to come out, and this was either going to make or break the restaurant. So we'll see. But Joel McHale playing the a-hole chef.
Big fan.
Oh, that's not a comic. That's like, wow, that's just great character acting. The other comic, by the way, Tracy Morgan in 2019 hosted the ESPYs. Yeah, after Norm Macdonald went Scorched Earth, ESPN wanted way more control, which is why we haven't had many comics. Although Shane Gillis, like when he went on SNL with the with a couple of beers bit,
yeah,
funny guy. Funny guy. July 16th is the date for the ESPYs. Tim, let's take this. Take a break. Line up your calls, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. If you got a thought, last call is for you. An angle on the Nighthawks we haven't thought of, something you would like to see for the Sabres. Hey, if you want to give a Bills take, hey, it's the offseason, but we're up for that too. Give us a call here on the Fan Rochester.
with sports. You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Last call is for you here in the Sports Bar as we high step it here to the week. I'm already saying it's the weekend here at Sam. No show on Friday. No show on Friday. No show on Friday.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We'll enjoy the weather.
That's it.
The day off.
Yeah, that's it. We'll enjoy
NHL draft.
That's one of those where I sit down and I'm not going to watch this. I'm not going to watch this. Oh! And 3 hours later, what did I do with my evening? Watch the whole NHL draft. I think it was Duffy who pointed this out. The NHL draft, you play the game. Okay, who's next to the athlete? Is it the mom? Is it the sister? Or is it the girlfriend?
Yeah, that's a fun little game to play because there's always multiple, but you got to pick which ones. You got to go the trifecta, horse racing.
Yeah, it's different. When it's the only sport where every pick is sitting in the stands and then they all rise in unison, and you man hug the dad, you're giving kisses to the mom. And then, if you have the girlfriend too, it's, and you realize these are kids. These are
17, 18, 19-year-old kids just living out a dream.
These are kids. And when I realized that, Tim, the first year we're doing the show, and it's Meet the Amerks night, and we're meeting the Sabres first-round pick, Alex Nylander. Now, he's not William Nylander with this is Alex, and I'm tired. I'm oh my gosh, it's 18.
A literal child.
It's
he's not
the face
of the franchise.
Yeah, it's oh gosh, it's it's different. Okay, yeah, you're coming into a man's league here, and it didn't surprise me at all that it kind of went that way.
He's a great AHL player, but we'll figure it out, and hopefully the Sabres will get something correct at number 9 and this 14-year drought dissipates.
Yeah, well, and number 9, it'll be somebody that, honestly, I've never heard of, and hopefully they will help the Amerks this year. Or, call me crazy, if Philadelphia can flip number 10. Now, we were joined by Paul Hamilton earlier in the show. He's no, I wouldn't have done that for Zegras, because Zegras is one of those guys that's regressing. I'll listen to that. That's not a problem at all. But, hey, if we're ready to kind of win, if you could use pick number 9 as part of a package to get something better, Tim, 2 thumbs up.
That's up for...
It won't happen.
Oh, I know.
It
General
won't
Manager
happen.
Kevin Adams, wake up and do nothing.
Unless Kevin Adams is hey, step aside. I'm Jarmo Kekalainen. Move aside there, Kevin. Let me show you how it's done. I'll roll up my sleeves. Tomorrow on the show, Haley Wynn. Yes, the toast of Rochester, number 2 overall pick. To the Boston Fleet. We will talk to the newest professional athlete in the Flower City. We will also talk to our buddy Mike Underwood. We'll talk some Red Sox and Buffalo Bills. For anyone on the show here today, for Dan Drummy, for Derek the Pizza Dude, for Tim Schneider, my name is Gene Battaglia, and thanks for listening to Rochester's only local sports talk show, The Sports Bar, here on The Fan, Rochester. Have a good night, everyone.
Straight up with no chase.